But anyways, in the chapter of murder, there's a segment that talks about a letter that was sent by David Patterson, I believe is his name. He wrote about how he was walking home, or he was riding home on his horse, and a giant hairy man, whose head was even with his shoulders while he was on his horse, walked beside him and talked about seeking death early on in his youth and being cursed to roam the earth for the rest of his time, or for the rest of Earth's time. And so from that, and there's a few other things in the passage I'm forgetting, but like as you read it, you're like, this is Cain. This is Cain, the murderer of Abel. And he's giant and hairy in America. That's Sasquatch, man.
Yeah, dude.
And so I legitimately believed Cain was Sasquatch.
Hello, and welcome to episode 13 of Rhythm and Wit, the podcast and video series where we explore and discuss the creative and artistic expressions of artists and performers in Oklahoma City and its neighboring cities, also referred to as the greater metro area by a popular local rock band who will soon make their return for one night only. My name is David Steele. I am a bass player, not a drummer, a music producer, a graphic designer, a photographer, and a film hobbyist. My co-host is Nicholas Campbell. Nick is a stand-up comedian, singer, songwriter, guitar player, electrical contractor, a husband, a father, and my best friend for almost 25 years. In today's episode, we welcome funny man Tanner RAHLF. Tanner is a stand-up comedian, a fashion designer, a filmmaker, a copywriter, a graphic artist, as well as an ex-Mormon. We asked Tanner about his experience as a comic for the past 9 years. We also discuss the importance of graphic design and collaboration as a performer. Tanner recently released his short film B, which you can watch from the link in the video description. We ask about the filmmaking and writing process of a short film, as well as his time as a Mormon and what skills he may have learned that could translate to being a stand-up comic. Please subscribe to our YouTube and podcast feeds to keep up with new episodes that drop every Friday. We hope you enjoyed today's episode and our conversation with Tanner, as we greatly appreciate your time and attention.
Count us off.
5, 4, 3.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of Rhythm and Wit. My name is David Steele, and with me is
Nick Campbell.
Today, we like to welcome our special guest, Tanner RAHLF.
Yeah! Alright.
Is that camera recording? Because I'm going to feel real stupid if it's not. Thank
But you
goodness.
can look at that one.
That one too.
That one's for
What's
your,
up? Oh,
your
that's my
Yeah. Perfect. Yeah, these are actually the nicer cameras of phones.
Tech is crazy like that.
So, Tanner, welcome to our show. We love to have you on. I told Nick, I just randomly had a thought like a month ago, and I was like, we need to have Tanner on. Like, you are like one of the most interesting people that I've met. Like, as far as like, I met a ton of interesting people doing comedy or, being involved with that community, but you have so many different things that you're into besides comedy. You do filmmaking, you do comedy, filmmaking. You're a copywriter, is that right?
I've read, and yeah, so like, and you do fashion, you do all this cool stuff. So like,
I still feel like comedy's at the core of all of that. Like comedy is up here, and then
Right.
everything else is a branch.
cool.
You know, stand-up's a branch of comedy. Filmmaking really is a branch of comedy.
Yeah.
Copywriting I got into because of copy or comedy.
That's cool, yeah.
And fashion design is just funny.
Well, yeah, it's, I think of that too, because I love fashion in a sense. I mean, like, I don't know, I think I've always loved it, but didn't really realize I loved it until I was older. But it's
It was
like,
a lot more taboo for guys to like
yeah.
the
I think
idea of
so.
fashion back then too.
But yeah, it's like, so yeah, that's why I was always interested in that. You know, you make your own clothes, you know, and stuff like that. Like, I think that's so cool to hear about, and just to meet somebody that even does that. Cause
It's
I think
fun.
It's rare.
What's ironic is every time someone brings up that I make my own clothes, I'm never wearing anything. I
Yeah,
made.
right. Well, yeah.
So,
I probably only maybe seen. I know that jacket you wore at. Put a cork in it. You had talked about you, and I maybe had seen like one other thing that you'd said you'd made.
I've made a few things, but not as much as I'd like to.
Yeah,
just
you
because
wanna
it's
do more.
still expensive.
Yeah. I bet.
Especially when you don't live in LA.
Mm-hmm.
Like living in LA, when you live near the garment district, you can get some fabrics for super cheap that are really good quality
Nice.
fabrics. I found places here that are decent, but it still adds up.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm very particular about what I make and when I make it and whatnot, and it's just time consuming.
Is it
Yeah.
still
As
cheaper
well.
than buying regular clothes, though?
Not always.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, most times it's still it's cheaper to buy online, or that's the problem with fast fashion, is most of it's cheaper than making, but at the same time they're made with cheaper quality
Right.
materials,
And I mean,
so
yeah.
they disappear a lot easier.
To me, it's like I think it'd be interesting to do that, because it's like I'm always looking for something very specific in my head, like whatever it is that I want, like a piece of clothing. Like I've been into like getting these plaid pants and stuff, but they're kind of harder to find than you would think.
Yeah,
You know?
straight up.
And so it's like I could just pick my own. If I knew how to make pants, I could just pick my own whatever pattern that I wanted.
Yeah,
and
but
just
even
make
finding the
some.
fabric can be
Right.
hard sometimes too, because sometimes you're looking for a specific
Yeah.
pattern. Plaid is common
Right,
enough
but-
that I'm sure
yeah.
you'll be able to find what
But
you're looking
I think
for
you
there,
could
but-
do some more interesting things that are available, even if it's not like. But it's interesting
Yeah.
you say that California is like, it's easier to find stuff out there. But I mean, it's I guess wherever it's made or whatever, it's like you're having to import stuff.
And just fast fashion has made it so cheap to just buy clothes outright, and cheaper to make. It's cheaper to buy clothes than to make clothes for the most part right now.
Right.
And that's all with fast
I guess
fashion. And
another thing would be it's interesting is you could probably alter things very easily.
that's a huge part
Yeah.
of. Honestly,
what I
that's
would be
probably the
doing.
bigger skill to have,
Yeah.
is being able to tailor clothes
Yeah.
and being able to alter to fit your body. Especially with like pants. I'm
For
a millennial
sure.
and an emo, so I like having my pants a little tighter
you got
around the
tight
calves.
pants.
So it's nice to be able to buy a pair and then be able to alter them that way.
Yeah. That's what
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to remember that if I need some stuff. If I have a shirt or something I really like, I'm like, man, Tanner, can you like?
Yeah. Well, if I'm not available, you can always just
Yeah,
go. There's
there
so
are.
many
I know.
alterations people around here
That's
too.
true.
I
never
went
think
to-
about it.
I went and got some shorts shortened. Too short, unfortunately. I love the short
You're
shorts, but then when I got it back, I was like, ooh, I was a little ambitious on this one.
They're just
I was a
going right
little
up
ambitious.
there.
Yeah.
I never know where the line is.
Huh?
I never know where the line is.
For shorts, I'll wear these. I'll show you.
It's the line.
That's the line.
It's when your balls. It's when your balls are threatening to pop out, even when you're wearing briefs. That's when it's.
Oh yeah.
That's
So,
when it's too short.
I'm gonna start calling you all balls RAHLF, man.
That's right. That's me.
Maybe it's not the shorts. Maybe it's you. Maybe your balls are too big.
I mean,
you gotta
I
go.
am blessed in many ways.
Congratulations, man. That's
Thank
really
you.
Awesome.
But no, so yeah, like even if I'm not around, but like alterations exist,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
it's
That's
it's
just-
so easy to do it and pretty cheap, relatively cheap, to just alter your clothes and make it fit to you, and that's the difference between
Yeah.
like celebrity fits and like what you buy off of JCPenney.
Right.
You can go get anything from a thrift store, and as long as you get it fitted to you, it looks clean. It looks professional, and like it changes the way like you look to others.
Even the airbrush T-shirts.
Yeah, dude.
Do you get those all the time?
Yeah, I crop
They
those
always seem to be just
really
big.
high. Yeah.
Crop over high.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the way to do it.
Show a little bit of belly. Bring the midriff back, man. It's 2001.
Yeah.
That's
Well,
like-
let me ask you a question real quick. Since we're on the fashion stuff, I noticed that whenever you usually have a show, you try to wear something that you've made.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a hard time because I'll just like, this is all Sam's. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? It's just
Yeah.
the cheap
Whatever
rack.
it is.
This was $13. You know what I'm saying?
It's a nice
were
sweater.
10.
Yeah.
You know what I'm
You
saying?
know.
Half sale. I'm not bragging, but I'm doing pretty good.
You got Black Friday yesterday, so you got all
Yeah.
these
Yeah,
deals.
dude. So it's but I don't know as a layman.
Yeah.
I don't know what I'm doing. I just wear stuff, and I don't know how to make a statement with it. But it's a big part of being a comedian too, and especially because it's kind of like you can do jokes off of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but how would you suggest that a guy goes into understanding what to put on and how and why?
I'm a big fan of just looking you. Look as the best version of you as you can be. So like, I would never wear a suit on stage because that's just not who I am. But John Mulaney always wears a suit on stage,
Right.
because that's a big part of what his comedy is. Like John Wallen, I would never, who you had on last week,
Yeah.
I would never expect to him go on the stage in a tuxedo.
Right.
He goes in the loose fitting clothes because that's who he is. He's very chill. That's just kind of the vibe he is. And so, you just got to be you. Just make sure you're the best version of you. So I know this doesn't answer like specifically wear these colors or wear this kind of thing.
Oh, sure.
It's just be as the best version of you as you can be, because that's what you're giving people in comedy. You're giving people in comedy your
You're
personality.
selling yourself.
So what you wear shouldn't contradict what you're about to deliver.
So it's all dad clothes then.
Yeah.
Yeah, honestly.
Really, yeah. This kind of fits.
Dude, no, honestly, I've never looked at your fit and been like, what is he doing? There's this one open mic comedian back in Utah who would always wear a suit to the open mics. And I was like, dude, it just doesn't match. It's just, everyone's looking up there like, why is he in a suit? Why is he? It's an open mic, man.
Yeah.
But even with his jokes and stuff, it's like,
Yeah. 'Cause
it's weird.
I think of that and it's like, that's hilarious to me. Like I like wearing ties and dressing up a little
Right.
bit, but it's like you do push it too far. I think whenever you get to a point where it's like, oh, he's just trying too hard, you know.
Yeah, but I think you pull it off well, because you
Yeah.
do you got that punk kind of vibe,
Yeah,
and that's
yeah.
what I get from the
yeah.
tie and the plaid pants and
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
it's.
Well, I can't even cross my legs like that. My ham hocks. Let it happen.
But yeah, no, but I'm thinking of me because it's like I could go up if I was a comedian, just go up and wear this, and I'd feel totally comfortable and fine. But it's just like, I think that some people might push a little bit too far and like try to do something and not be themselves.
I mean, you're definitely.
And then it stands out.
Ooh,
I think.
Sorry.
Okay.
What's
We
up?
can do
What's
that.
up? Hold my hand for support. I think with comedy, you're definitely putting on a version of yourself when you're presenting and when you're doing shows, and so how much of that is a character? Like Bill Burr is very much a character. A caricature of himself, right?
Yeah,
It's
the heightened version.
there's more of a character aspect to it. You can go as extreme as like Dice Clay, who was a character.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely. Yeah.
yeah, it's theater in a way, comedy, and so those again, the outfit should match that character.
Makes sense if you think about it. If you think about it like in that aspect, as far as you're putting on a costume, that's what I do with this. I mean, this is my costume for this show.
All of
I mean,
us.
I don't. Yeah. It's like
that's what our clothing is. It's costumes. It's supposed to be representations of who we are.
That's a good.
Yeah,
way
these
to
shoes
think
make me
of it.
fast.
Yeah,
Same
exactly.
idea.
Make
Yeah.
you feel-
It's like when you're a kid.
Yeah,
So how long have you been doing comedy? Like
7 years.
7
Oh,
years.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
In 2014, so maybe more than 7 years? About 9.
It's almost.
Oh,
it's almost
nice,
10
dude.
years.
Yeah,
No
coming up
breaks?
on 9.
No breaks in between or anything like that.
We'll talk about it in a second. 2014, I went to Salt Lake Comic-Con,
Okay.
and I met all the voice actors there. The voice actors of the Animaniacs and a few other professional voice actors.
What's that guy's name?
Rob Paulson.
Yeah,
he's
great.
awesome.
Also, Raphael.
And,
is that him?
Join me.
Does the phrase "go suck a lemon" hold any meaning for you?
So I
One of
met
the-
Rob
one of the
Paulson and
ninjas.
Jess Harnell, and Mo LaMarche, who's the voice of the Brain.
What do you want to do tonight?
The same thing we do every night, Pinky. Try to take over the world.
The Pinky and the Brain, yes, Pinky and the Brain. One is a genius, the other's insane.
And like any Orwellian voice in Futurama. So a lot of them came to Salt Lake Comic Con that year, and I just went and waited in line for the signings and just talked to them. And I was like, I want to get into voice acting. This looks fun. What do I do? Every single one of them said, start performing where you can right now. And they said, do theater, do improv, do stand-up, join a band. You know, that's all of them. If you talk to any of the voice actors, almost all of them started not voice acting. Like Jim Cummings, who does Winnie the Pooh and
Who? Christopher Robin.
Optimus Prime. Two very different voices.
Both sides of the spectrum.
Yeah, but he started by as a New Orleans like parade. He was like
leader, band leader, kind of a parade leader.
Yeah, he was a musician in like New Orleans.
Nice.
And did like and he did boat tours and stuff. So
that's
like
something. Yeah, I think a lot of comedians might do that too.
Yeah,
I've heard maybe.
So all these voice actors you'll find they didn't do voice acting first. So that's their advice they're telling me is like just get comfortable performing. And the
especially
opportunity
talking into a microphone.
Right. So when they said all of that, I was like, I don't need like friends. I don't need like to audition to stand up. I can just go do stand up. Like I can just find a mic and just go tell jokes. I'd already been listening to a bunch of Mitch Hedberg and thought that was really fun and kind of like starting to write jokes myself. So so December of 2014 was my first open mic, and then January of 2015 I transferred from Utah Valley University to BYU Idaho in Rexburg, Idaho, and I knew nobody there. And so when I went there, I was like, I gotta find something to be a part of. And since comedy, that one open mic I did was so fun, I was like, well, let's look for more open mics here in Rexburg. You know, it's a way to get involved. So I went to what I thought was an open mic, turned out to be a stand-up comedy club. And so I was heavily involved in that for my entire time in Rexburg for 3 years. So I say no gaps, but 3 years of that was at a very conservative Mormon college, where if I swore on stage, I wouldn't be allowed to perform for the rest of the semester.
Wow.
And if I did it twice, they'd probably kick me out.
And this is when you were practicing Mormon.
Yeah, it would be hard to go to BYU Idaho if you're not practicing Mormon. I was practicing Mormon at the time. BYU Idaho, I said, is one of the places where I realized I didn't want to be practicing Mormon anymore. But yeah, so 9 years, 3 of those again at a very conservative Mormon area. It's where I learned to be clean, though.
But that's what I was saying. Like those limitations will make you force yourself to think differently about.
I agree. As much as I rip on that school, I am grateful that it forced me to be a clean comedian.
It's interesting, yeah.
Do you feel like you were like honoring your voice though? I mean, at the time maybe you were, but you know what I'm saying? Like, do you feel like there was something inside you weren't really bringing out?
Yes. Yeah, I do think so. I really had opinions on the honor code at BYU Idaho that they wouldn't let me do jokes about, and I was like, this is the point of comedy, is to kind of make fun of the things and bring awareness of the things around us. So I did feel like I was being censored in that way, and things that after I've left the church I've been able to open up more about, for sure.
Probably thoughts you had back then that you were like, I'm not going to say this, but like now you're more comfortable.
Exactly. So yeah, in a way, I did feel like I was being hindered from having a completely open voice.
Okay.
But then even when I was still practicing Mormon, once I left BYU Idaho, I was in spaces where I could at least talk about what was going on internally more openly, without fearing consequence for it.
Right.
So
you were talking 2014, then you moved to BYU Idaho.
In 15, and then graduated in April of 2018.
Okay.
And moved back to Utah after that, and then from then until I moved here, I was doing comedy in Utah as often as I do it here, maybe even more in Utah, just because I was a little more established in that scene. And I did improv while I was in Utah too. So if I wasn't doing stand up, I was doing like improvised musicals.
Oh, nice.
Really fun.
Do you play music? Or I saw one of your photos online. You had a ukulele. And
Oh yeah.
I was like, do you play guitar?
I do play guitar. Ukulele's pretty easy to learn once you know how to play guitar. Yeah, I was when I was in high school, I had no intentions of comedy. I thought I was gonna be a punk rocker.
Oh yeah.
I you know.
Yeah, because you've talked about emo and your set and stuff like that, which I always find fun.
I always thought I was gonna start some kind of punk band when I was in high school. And that's where I'd like start drawing fake logos and stuff, which got me into graphic design.
Yeah, and I saw that too. Is I'm a graphic designer, and then John Wallen tried to be a graphic designer.
Yeah,
at one point.
There's a trend here.
Yeah, it's like, but yeah, a lot of
did it
people.
for a little bit.
Comedy has some shittiest flyers. I
think graphic design is honestly, it's probably like one of the skills that everyone should try and learn, just because it's so useful in so many ways, especially if you're an entertainer.
Well, it's so accessible now,
I mean,
too,
you need
you got,
to know
Canva.
Yeah,
you've got programs that are free to use where you can, because all graphic design is like just arranging in a way that looks good.
And and to me, I mean, it's literally just you have a piece of information, a show, or whatever you're trying to promote. You're trying to get that message across efficiently and visually. And it's just efficient communication in a visual format.
Yeah, without looking cluttered. And,
right. Yeah, because if you want people to know that there's a show on this date, they better be able to see the date.
Exactly.
And sometimes that's hard to do with the comic flyers that you see, the comedian ones.
Well, I find the biggest flaw, in my opinion, in especially local comedy flyers, is that they want to use everyone's headshot. I don't think headshots are important for comedy flyers.
I mean,
I don't think people really care what the comedians look like if they already don't know who the comedian is.
Right. I think it's
if it's not going to be,
it's not necessary.
Right. Unless it's like a comedian where like they might be like, oh, I didn't know they did comedy, and they see the face, but still you got to be celebrity status in that way. Anyway, so like David Cross, right, who plays Tobias in Arrested Development.
It did bother me that they did so well without me, but I do have to ask them for help.
And I have to ask for an audition.
You have an audition yet?
Oh, no, I'm not in the group yet. No, I'm afraid I just blew myself.
There's got to be a better way to say that.
Very funny stand-up comedian. Some people might not know he does stand-up comedy, so they see like a flyer with his face and they go, "Oh, Tobias does stand-up."
It's like you recognize.
So
him from TV.
I think on a local level, I think there's so much focus to get the headshots on there, and once you put them on there, because they're so different, it's usually stolen Facebook photos. That already throws the design off completely.
It's that's a good point.
And I know you do that online. You're not the only one. Everyone does this. And yours look fine. I will say, like your flyers. The
this
ones
is
that,
public. Yeah, I appreciate you saying that.
Your flyers are good. Use like a template for Lively.
Oh, you can't. Yeah. I use the same templates for new ones that I build.
Smart move though. Like especially if you're not
recognition.
If you're not a professional, templates work fine enough. I don't think they're the best, but like they do the job.
Yeah. Well, you can rearrange things too.
Yeah.
You kind of make it your own.
Yeah. So yours are fine. But I think a lot of flyers have so much emphasis on the headshot, and I'm like, I don't think these are necessary. And I think by doing that, it kind of throws off the design sometimes. Or like if I did headshots, I'd always try to do some kind of style. To make them uniform.
That's what I was gonna say about Nick's is like, at least they're in the section. It's not like, I mean, they're placed nicely to where it's not distracting or anything.
Yes, yeah.
Well, I like it personally because whenever I look at a flyer and I see people's faces, it like personalizes that show.
That's
maybe I'm wrong on this.
I'm like,
I mean, I think for me, I get your point. I think
that's fair.
Yeah. I think your point is like it's hard to make. I think it's hard to do it well.
Maybe that's what I'm trying to. It's the easiest way to clutter it up.
Yeah, exactly.
And then
I see what you're saying,
you're
though.
right with the theme. Like, if you can get it all headshots, instead of like somebody holding the mic and then another one, some guy in the background.
Yeah, well, it's even just like quality too.
Like, they're like a small, like little pixelated, crappy photo next to a really nice
I think
professionally
that's
made.
more of what it is
Yeah.
the quality.
Yeah.
But what you do right that a lot of places don't is you at least have a clean background to put them on. Whereas like
Yeah,
sometimes they'll have
that's
like
a
the
big thing when it's just,
they got to have the comedy brick wall and a microphone and the
Yeah, I
stool
think
and then the headshots and then for some reason 5 different fonts of that are hard to read.
Yeah, I think that I think it's important. A lot of it to me, it's like this kind of all this stuff is just these simple rules of design that there's only like 4 basic rules. I'm going to do an episode one day. I'm just going to teach everyone how to just make a very simple flyer.
Keep it simple,
like,
stupid, man.
Yeah, but it's
the
like
best advice I've ever
but
gotten.
a lot of that
in
stuff that
first grade.
if you don't learn it, you're not going to know. So you're not going to, you just throw stuff on there. Like, I don't know why this isn't looking good. It's like, well, there's just simple things that. But anyways, that's like a whole.
What frustrates me, what frustrates me, and then we can move on topics because we're talking a lot of design for an audio podcast.
It's useful.
For me.
Yeah, it's
that's
useful
fair.
for a lot of people. So.
You're doing good though. I like your flyers a lot.
I appreciate that. I pay $14.99 a month for Canva.
Which it's worth it. I mean, if you use it as much as you do.
You're getting your money's worth for sure. One thing that frustrates me is I'll watch TikToks of like graphic designers who will take like an NFL logo and then redesign it. And it's like, you took something great and redesigned it to something okay. It's like, you're not showing off how good of a designer you are. I was like, if you want to prove how good of a designer you are, take a shitty comedy flyer. And there are many. Just look up hashtag comedy show and find any flyer in Instagram. 95% of them are awful, and redesign that to make it look good. If you can do that, then you're telling me you're a good designer.
Do mine.
Don't redesign the Minnesota Vikings logo.
Yeah.
That doesn't tell me anything.
They spent millions of dollars on it.
Yeah, like, and theirs looks better.
It's like when somebody takes a premise that you're using and writes a crappier joke against it.
Yeah.
It's like, why would you do that?
Yeah.
I haven't had that happen yet. But.
It's... I don't know. It frustrates me because it's just like,
I know.
Don't show me what you can do with something that's good. Show me how you can fix something that's broken. And these comedy flyers are an easy source of finding bad design.
I mean, it's all of it. Bands. I mean, I've seen.
I guess that's true. I just am not immersed in the band culture.
I mean, that's like as a designer too. Since I started studying it, it's like I'm like plagued by bad design everywhere, it's like I can't get away from it. It's like, why is that so terrible? And it's just like I can't not see that stuff, but it's like, but that's what I look for a lot. And it's like and often when there is something cool, it's like, I mean, I'm drawn to that the well-designed stuff often, but yeah, I mean, it's a tough thing, and I just see it all over the place, and it's just a lack of education, like I was saying, about these simple rules about like contrast, repetition, alignment, and proximity. Is like these core elements that make up, and it's like if you follow all those, you're gonna have a decent design. It's just simple, but
that's all I learned in that graphic design.
But those
class.
things are those 4 things. It's it's just, I think about that all the time. It's just like if you put a little bit of thought into those things, it would change everything. But that's
Keep it simple, stupid.
Definitely a bigger topic that I want to go into more later on.
Especially for a podcast about comedy and music.
But
we're gonna talk about design today.
I think it ties into like.
There's definitely
I mean, to all of it, and like I was saying, if you're a performer, it's definitely useful to learn some of this stuff,
especially at our level of amateur, where we're producing our own shows.
Yeah. For sure.
Everything's
part of my goal next year is to produce shows. To produce my own. I actually have a few I want to talk to you guys off mic about that I think will be.
fun. I'll do it.
So I think you'll like the one I have actually. Okay. So but it's going to require a lot of production, and so there's people I need to reach out to. So it's. But if I can get it going, I'm really excited for this one.
We'd be interested in doing stuff. I mean, that's part of the reasons why I want to have people on and talk to them and get to know you guys better. And it's like, I'm like looking for like, how can we work together on something? What can we do? And so
I was just talking to Leo the other day about how like I've suddenly felt this drive, and I do still feel like a newbie to Oklahoma City. So I do feel the irony of saying this, but like I want to build an Oklahoma City comedy scene, not just like comedians in Oklahoma City, but like I want people to know Oklahoma City for comedy, or like know that there's comedians here that we can get a certain style. The same way that people know if they're in Austin, we can go see a comedy show there. It feels we're trying for sure. I just feel like we need a little more focus, and I would love to make that my next step here in Oklahoma City too. And so first of all, we got the coolest nickname for any city, Boomtown. Just offers its name for comedy.
Yeah.
Boomtown Comedy, man. I would love to help with that. And we're all helping each other right now. I would love to find a way for us to focus those efforts and really create a scene
because
here.
we can do it. I think
talking about like an association.
Like
collective.
Almost, yeah.
You pay dues and we have a book that we all abide by.
We all abide by. We all wear the same underwear.
I love this idea.
Yeah. No, not that intense, but I would love to try to build like a legitimate scene here where people know Oklahoma City for like these kinds of comedians.
I think that you're definitely the kind of people that we need and to do that with. It's like I'm meeting lots of creative people and it's like I'm always judging people's like drives. It's like how driven are you to do the things that you want to do, and it's rare to find people that are actually very driven or highly driven, and it's like it's hard.
It's hard.
We all have lives.
I got ADHD, man. I'll be all in on it this weekend, and the next week I'll be like, I wanted the what?
But but the amount of skills that you have, it's like, doing like that's what I'm looking for, to build a network of my own, but hopefully, to
and there's so much tie-ins with music as well. Music and comedy.
I think because the older I get and the more I learn about other performing arts and things like that, there's so many similarities in everything, like writing music, writing comedy, writing film and TV or whatever. It's like there's so many crossovers and even like kind of concepts and things that like translate. So that's why I'm interested in doing this show to begin with, is to talk about those things and find other ways that, because my thing is like hearing people talk about their processes could trigger, like there could be a visual artist watching this and hear something that you say about comedy that triggers something in them, and it's like, oh, I can maybe use this same concept in a weird way. I don't know.
Well, it used to be where you had to go to cities. You had to go to Hollywood to get into Hollywood.
Right. Yeah.
You had to go to New York to get into comedy, or Chicago. Like you had to go to these places. I think Oklahoma City is it's growing and lending itself for the community, but also with technology today. A kid
social media.
A kid in nowhere, Iowa.
Yeah.
Could sorry, I keep hitting you.
I like it.
Yeah. There's something about fat guys that have to like stretch their arms here.
We yearn for physical touch.
Yeah, we do. We didn't get much when we were younger. Our parents were like, yeah, he's fat. Don't touch him.
What is this what puberty looks like?
This is middle school and all the girls found me repulsive. No, I with the technology today, a kid in nowhere, Idaho or Iowa can make a short film, and they are.
Yeah.
The kids who have the drive in, like, what is nothing today in technology is so much more powerful than what Hollywood had back in the 40s and 50s.
Yeah. Right.
And so why go other places when we can there's the right people here, there's the right comedians, there's the right kind of community. So any kind of artistry, I think we can focus it here. And we've seen it like the Plaza District with the murals there. You can see artists are really starting to pop off here, like actual visual artists. And so performing arts, I think there's I think we are starting to create a bubble here. Like the gas is starting to boil. I think the kegs are starting to fill up, the powder kegs. I think things are in place.
For sure.
We just need some sparks to fly around, and I think we can really pop off here.
Do you think it's because of the film industry started taking an interest out here?
No. Well, maybe, but not
personally,
really.
well, for me, that's part of it. Is there's a lot more tools here.
Yeah. I mean, that's nice. I love that, because I actually went back to study film. It took like one semester at LCCC in 2021, I think, in that fall. And because I was kind of like, I've been doing graphic arts for over 10 years now, and it's like, it's good, but it's hard to make money here in the city.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, well, like, what else is going on? Like, maybe I can get into film, because that's popping off. They got the big studio downtown and all that, and they're making, you know, Sylvester Stallone stuff is here, or he was. But anyways,
did he pull out Tulsa King?
I think, I don't know. I think it's union stuff. I mean, as far as like that's why I say the film industry here is not really what it needs to be, because
my perspective of the film industry
wrong,
is at the advertising side of things. So
doing like in marketing and for sure, like doing that kind of stuff.
So there's a lot of tools here. There's a lot of studios. There's a lot here that's good, that's going for Oklahoma City.
It's all going to be beneficial for whatever we're trying to do too. Yeah. So you're right about that.
I've met a lot of actors now that we never met actors growing up here.
Yeah.
You know, nobody would say it. You know,
or if they were, I mean, we did know some in college, but I mean, they were like student.
Yeah, it was a side thing. I know people here like I act.
Right.
Yeah.
I act
like
in
that's
Oklahoma.
Utah had a really good scene for that too.
Yeah, because I wanted to go into the next topic, but about your film stuff, because you did a short film called B that came out I guess a few months ago now. Was it
a year ago? I filmed it just over a year ago.
So that was I saw August 13th, but was that 2022?
That might have been when I officially released it on YouTube.
Okay. But you filmed it before you even moved here, right?
Yeah, so I filmed it out in Utah. I filmed it before I got laid off from my job, but I knew I was about to.
Yeah.
And so my job out there, they owned a cyc wall, a studio with a cyc wall, which is just that white backdrop that you see in a lot of advertisements. But we had a ton of lights and stuff set up for it, so
you got to borrow that stuff.
I knew I was about to get laid off, but I was like, but until then, I can still use all this stuff.
Oh yeah, that's good.
So, and Kenna, who is my other actor in or she played, you know, my wife
Petunia.
in Petunia. She is an actor in Utah as well. She is she's SAG qualified right now. I think she was waiting for the strike to end.
Yeah.
So she can be SAG soon. I think she just has to do.
What does that mean?
Screen Actors Guild.
Screen Actors Guild.
Oh,
the
okay,
union.
So SAG qualified means she's done enough work in SAG certified movies. And then I can't remember the details, but she's close to being a SAG certified actress.
So she's still in Utah acting?
She's still in Utah, but I believe she does go out to LA for stuff every now and then. But she does a lot of advertisements. That's what a lot of Utah's filmmaking is advertising. So from the ad agency I worked for out there, that's how I met Kenna. Told her this idea of this film. She was all in. Again, from the ad agency I worked with, I had this great director of photography named Alan Baird.
Yeah, so I wanted to say that it's shot very nicely.
Alan
it's
is
amazing as
this
far
kid's
as...
a wonderkind, man. I'm not even sure if he's 21 yet, so like he can't even drink yet, but he might be now. I don't know. He's got his own stuff called Unirealm Productions that you can look up, which is really great. But yeah, I met him from work.
Yeah.
Spencer, who was my producer, another person from work, and then Dixie, who did all the set design for the craft store strip club. She also I worked with at Chamber Media. The only person I didn't work with at Chamber, I still met through Chamber, which is our makeup person. She just freelanced with them, and so because I was working with an ad agency and I knew all these people, I was able to do it for pretty cheap. I did that whole film for about $300, I think.
Whoa, that's really good.
Yeah. So I got that studio because I knew I wasn't laid off yet, and then I got laid off the following weekend. So like we barely got that one out of time.
Doing some reshoots in the garage or something.
Man, it would have been close. But yeah, it was so fun, man, and like
that's cool.
That project taught me how much easier it is to make a film than I had always thought.
Yeah.
You just gotta know. You just gotta reach out to the right people.
The teamwork. That's what I loved about film when I studied it, and I was like, it's such a collaborative effort. Like no one can do this stuff by themselves.
Exactly.
I mean, you could maybe, but it would. I don't know. It's just, you really shouldn't. You shouldn't try because it's so much that I mean, especially a big film. I mean, there's just thousands of people that go into making like a Marvel studio film or something like that. I mean, it's absolutely impossible and it's such a community effort and so many people doing very specific things on set and
it's
stuff.
So fun.
Yeah,
it's so fun.
Creative, and so always you're like constantly having to problem solve and create and figure out how to do certain things. But the thing is, I got out of it learning more about the industry as a whole, especially in Hollywood. But even here, it's like they're assholes, man. Like that's not an industry that
Why you say that?
Because they treat their employees terribly. I mean, that's why everyone's striking, because and it's dangerous, frankly. I mean, Alec Baldwin killed a woman. I mean, because of negligence and all kinds of stuff. Yeah, it's just. So it's a dangerous craft to get into. I mean,
have you looked into the details of Rust too? Have you looked into the details of Rust?
I mean, I was following it.
An accident was going to happen.
Yeah,
on that set. It was so bad.
In my opinion, I think I know what happened. Was like they were all guys around in the desert shooting the guns with real bullets when they're off time. Didn't take the bullets out or whatever, and they didn't check it. So when
the crew also, they didn't have enough hotels on filming location for the crew, so the crew were actually staying like an hour and a half away from where the filming was. So the crew had to wake up an extra hour and a half and had an hour and a half less time when they got home. Filming days are already long, especially for crew.
Yeah, on average, like what, 12 to 14 hours?
Yeah, and then you go home and go to sleep for 4 hours and come back and do it again. That's the dangerous part.
And it's laborious. I mean, like, for acting is fun. Acting is so fun. But like,
we're working on the lighting,
being a crew and like just being, even when you're one of the boom guys, you're just holding that up. That's your job. Is to just hold this up and aim it towards one of the actors for 12 to 14 hours a day. And the lights, I mean, the lights crew. They work wonders. They make the movies. They are the silent heroes of any cinema. But the amount of work that goes in between each shot. I mean, being on set, if you're not one of the crew members, is boring.
Well, even for the crew, it's like, I mean, the way they talk about it is a lot of hurry up and wait.
Yes.
Because you have to rush, and then you're waiting for 4 hours for whatever it is for somebody else to do whatever they have to do. Yeah. It's just like, and that to me was like, this sucks. I don't want to be on set for 14 hours a day. And,
it takes a special kind of crazy. It takes a special kind of crazy to be there.
So I dropped out of that, but I loved what I learned, and the stuff that I learned I'm going to think about for the rest of my life. I mean, as far as watching films, I love watching them and studying them in that way. And doing stuff like this, I learned so much about, you don't have to necessarily work on film sets to use those skills, like doing ads and things. So, I'm definitely interested in doing more of it. I just the film industry is not, because I was like, I'm gonna go and work on movies. That's what I was interested in. Then I was like, man, maybe not.
Well, I like to do skits. I want to do little
sketch comedies are so fun.
Like doing short films and doing.
It said you wrote and directed. B. How do you start writing? How do you get your ideas?
Ironically, B started from a sketch that I wrote.
Oh, okay.
And I can show you guys the original. I was on a sketch comedy group back in Utah as well. How do you start writing? It's as simple as start writing. Like, it's...
That's right.
Yeah.
Do you take one of your jokes, maybe, and then kind of like...
So this one started off with a joke. I came home... I was visiting my mom's place, my parents' place in Utah, and it was the summertime, and my mom likes to put up a different wreath according to the month on the door.
Season or whatever.
Yeah. My mom loves
Spring,
that kind of stuff.
Summer wreath.
So it was some kind of wreath with fake flowers on it, and I saw this bee sniffing up the fake flower.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, I wonder if fake flowers are pornography for bees, because you think about it, perfect, petals, they're all fake and plastic.
Yeah.
They're not the real thing.
Yeah,
but
right. That makes sense.
You get to indulge yourself in fantasies.
It's like it never goes bad. It never gets old and
like women.
So I started doing a stand-up bit of that, and it was fun, but it was kind of hard to provide the context to really make it into a stand-up joke.
Yeah.
But that joke really lended itself to a sketch.
Right.
And so I wrote a sketch about it in the original one. we didn't actually go to the craft store, but it was just the bee and the flower fighting and
it was just
talking
one
about
locations.
Yeah,
kind of thing.
what makes them unhappy, and all of that. So yeah, that's really where it came from. Was that kind of joke.
That's a good idea. That's a good idea. I never thought about. I mean, obviously, so many people like Seinfeld and Tim Allen or whatever. It's like they make TV shows based on their comedies. And like a lot of the premises are joke premises. But that's a great way to even start a short film or whatever it is that you want to. Any comment?
Well, can we? Are we cool with spoiling it? Are we cool?
We can spoil it.
We'll link it. I mean,
it's really good.
Thank you.
From what I've seen, I mean, I like how it takes like a dramatic twist.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of silly in itself, which obviously delivers this almost heavy-handed kind of like. Yeah. Like.
It's been hard for me to submit it to festivals because I keep trying to submit it under comedy.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of festivals are like, is it?
Yeah.
But then when you submit it under drama, people are like, what the fuck is this? So I keep submitting comedy because I know if I do, people will laugh where I want them to laugh.
Yeah.
Whereas if I submit drama, I think when the jokes come by, people will be like, is that supposed to be a joke? And they're like, yes. It's okay to laugh.
But that's what I liked about it too, is they had this almost like lighthearted. It was, like I said, it's a great vessel to deliver this idea of like, porn in a relationship, and then hearing where you took from comedy, and it is very funny because he's sitting there looking online at these flowers, just like how, and then she's still very upset about it, And then in the end, I almost cried. I'm not even joking. Yeah, I was like, what the she did for? She quit way too easy. She wasn't the one, man. You're good.
That's funny because I take the flower side when I write.
Do you really?
Yeah, when I wrote it, I definitely took the flower side.
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, it was like, it was very. It's an interesting look at a relationship and very real emotions that people have, but it's just silly. I love the. I was watching it and I was thinking like it must have been so much fun to like come up with like all these weird like bee jokes and stuff where you could fit in like the replacement thing for whatever it is.
So yeah, I sent it to a lot of my comedy friends for punch ups and stuff like that. But then like some like Buzzy was on the
Buzzies is a good one.
It was just as me and Kenna, as Alan was setting up lights in the camera, Alan and Spencer, me and Kenna were just going over lines, and Kenna pretty much coached me. I wrote, directed, but like Kenna helped me so much. Oh, she is a much more professional than I am. That's why I wanted her. Anyways, so as we're going back and forth, at one of those takes, we said Buzzy. I can't even remember who did it, but it came up from reading the lines in between Buzzy. We're like, this is so much more fun to say Buzzy than Buddy.
Just silly, stuff like that. I thought was so funny, and just little tiny details that you might not even catch.
The original line was just best friends. They're my best friends. And she's like, am I not your friend? But then it was just so much funnier as a bee to be like, they're my buzzies. I can't be my buzzies. It's like, I want to be your buzzy.
That's what it made, like I said, it shaved the hard edge off of that moment.
Well, and I've always been a fan of like Taika Waititi. Who is really good at kind of juxtaposing comedy with drama. I love any movie that can balance those two really well. So Taika's kind of my more recent example. I know there's other people that I'm not giving proper credit for, like Mike Birbiglia. His his stand-up specials really blend that line of one-man show with stand-up comedy. And so, like, my girlfriend's boyfriend and Sleepwalk With Me particularly both have these very deep emotional points in their story where you kind of forget it's a comedy. And I love when you can do that, because I think when you can make people forget it's a comedy, when you bring a punchline back, it's that much funnier. Which I didn't do in B. I didn't really bring it. Ended on a low note.
I was like, is that it? Dang.
No, that's just.
But that's good.
That's me as a new writer, still learning this myself. And
it's a short film. I mean, there's only so much you can do, anyway. So I mean, it kind of has to end at some point.
I almost think you could. I mean, I felt like, I want to see the next one. That's what it felt like. I was like, I want to see what happens
hopefully,
next.
you can do
which is a good place to be.
So and Petunia is finally going to see the world for the first time. I think that's the optimism of it. Is she was being held back by Jerry. Did you catch that his name was Jerry?
Jerry?
Yeah, the bee. There's one small scene where you can see on the note she writes to him.
Jerry?
It says Jerry.
Well, I think I saw
is that
it in the credits.
Oh, it's in the credits too. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, it's 100% a call to Jerry Seinfeld and B movie.
Solid movie too, though, right? You ever seen
oh,
Beavers?
it's actually a pretty good movie.
I haven't actually watched it. I heard it was terrible, so I was like, I'm not gonna watch this.
It was fun. It's not.
Yeah.
There's a reason we're not talking about it, you know, in high praise today, and it's more of a meme. But it's still a decent movie.
It's so weird to me that like,
Yeah.
that's probably like, has he ever done any other movies besides that? Like, he's never done movies.
No?
Seinfeld?
Yeah.
I don't believe so. I remember he did a show called The Marriage Ref. It was like a late night show where
I would love to see my wife wearing this.
The only thing that makes him seem gay is I'd like to see him in this.
I've never heard of that, actually.
I only remember the pilot, so I don't think it lasted long.
He did do Seinfeld.
The pilot was like, oh yeah.
But that's I just never thought about it. He's that's really the only thing he's done is Seinfeld. I mean, besides as far as like the big thing.
And Seinfeld means he'll never have to do anything.
Which
that's
I'm
why I
just
love
saying,
Radcliffe. You know, Daniel Radcliffe has made so much money off of Harry Potter that when he does a movie,
he can do whatever he
wants.
wants.
He's in a movie, I get so excited because it's because he can. Like, these are the movies actors always want to do, and I'm not going to fault actors. You got to get paid. You just need to make money, and you can't afford to do these indie movies for the rest of your life unless you're Daniel Radcliffe.
Yeah.
So whenever I see his name, I'm excited.
Yeah.
Because he's choosing these movies.
What was that? The ones where he had his hands stuck to guns or something?
Oh, yeah.
What was that?
No, I haven't.
I don't know.
I know the poster, but I haven't seen
He
it.
did that Victor Frankenstein too, with like a long time ago.
does
I haven't seen either
Dude,
of
he
those.
just does like a lot of cool stuff.
Swiss Army Man, though.
That Swiss Army Man was
that's the one.
Which, by the way, same writers and directors. Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Oh, okay.
Which is,
nice.
one of my favorite movies in recent. And that's another one that's really good at balancing comedy with really deep
I still haven't seen
moments.
that. I'm like ashamed to say I haven't seen that
It's-
yet. But it's like everyone's favorite
Maybe
movie.
recency bias, although I am going to get tattoos from that movie
Oh, really?
eventually. Yeah. I'm going to get rocks with
I need
googly
to
eyes
watch
on my
it.
calves.
I've been waiting because it's like I should have saw it in the theater or something when it was out, and then it was like, and then it's like trying to find it on streaming, and it's like I just need to like rent it or.
It's
something.
streaming now. I can't remember where.
I know. And then I forgot.
It's on
so.
Netflix.
Is that what it is?
Yeah, it's on Netflix. I got it queued up.
It's so good. One of my favorite theater experiences, though.
Yeah.
It was. I went. So when I was, I know you guys want to talk about it later, but like when I was leaving the church, when I was starting to realize I didn't want to be Mormon anymore, I'd stopped going to church and started going to movies on Sundays instead.
That's a good replacement. I always talk about this. It's like I quit smoking cigarettes. I mean, this is 10 years ago, but it's like, so I recently quit drinking. I quit all these things, and it's like, those are the things that are hard to do. I mean, quitting the church is probably on a similar level as far as like.
I wouldn't say it's not as physically hard.
Right,
but it was emotionally hard though, because you're
like
leaving
that.
community.
But my thing is you have to replace something with the things that you're giving up a lot of the times. So that's an interesting thing to hear, that you know. It's like, instead of doing this thing where you always did every Sunday, it's like, well, I got to go somewhere. So you like.
So I went and saw movies every Sunday, and so I'd get used to just seeing movies by myself.
Yeah.
Then
that's the way I go.
A year or two later, Everything Everywhere All at Once came out, and I saw it about a month and a half after it had already come out, or 2 months. I knew that like people loved it. I didn't know anything about the movie though, and that was the perfect way to go into it. Is knowing nothing. It was me and one other person in the theater, and when the credits rolled, both of us. I mean, we're on like opposite ends of the theater. Neither of us stood up though. We're just like sitting in there, being like, "What did we just watch?"
Yeah.
I highly recommend it. I think it well deserved its Best Picture nomination and all their nominations last year.
Yeah, I'll check it out for sure.
You got to, man. It's so good.
It's one of those that just seems like this weird, like, cultural phenomenon. And movies do this a lot, not a lot, but there are often movies that do that, where it's something so life-changing in a weird way. Because I think movies are powerful in these.
There is an importance to movies in that way.
Yeah, if they're well done like that.
They can be powerful, or sometimes it can just be The Rock getting out of his hospital bed and breaking his cast by flexing. That doesn't teach me anything in life, and yet that's still one of the most fun I've ever had watching a movie.
Yeah.
So movies don't need to. I think there's this balance of movies, because I think movies can be very important to people.
What are?
But sometimes they don't need to be.
Yeah.
I love the Fast movies.
Yeah.
The Fast movies are so fun.
I love them too.
I didn't learn from any of those. But you don't need to. It's just fun to watch cars fly to the moon.
I mean,
we're in outer space! Told you numbers don't lie. This is crazy, bro! And how much candy did you eat?
Well, I eat candy when I get nervous.
yeah.
Yeah.
They're just like adventure movies to me, which I love adventure movies. That's the big thing.
What got you into film? What made you want to start making films?
Ever since I was a little kid, my dad was always kind of a bit of a movie buff, and so my dad always had us watch, like the Star Wars movies as kids. And then I remember early on, those Star Wars movies on VHS had the little making of documentary before, and so I would always watch those as a kid too. Not only would I love movies, I would love watching the making of and seeing how these movies were made. And so as a young kid, I've always wanted to. My oldest brother made movies with his friends with our little VHS camera.
Nice.
And so I didn't really make movies with my friends. My friends didn't care.
Yeah.
And then like the one I tried to do in 6th grade had no organization to it at all. I was like, all right, I want to make a movie about hipsters. It's about a hippie guy because I had a Halloween costume as a hippie.
It's a guy got
cool.
the wardrobe.
He's a superhero.
He's a superhero.
This line from this movie was funny. Warren, how about you say that word for word? Let's not worry about copyright. I was 11. I didn't know any better.
Yeah, dude, you gotta cover a song or two.
Yeah. So, no, my oldest brother would make music videos and movies with his friends. So I think part of it is just like that connection with my brother and the friendship he had with his friends by making movies. But also, as time got on, the more I watch movies, the more I realize that same thing, that movies can be very powerful or they can be very silly.
Yeah.
They're just such a fun form of expression.
Right.
And there was a point where I lost interest in making that, and I regret that. I wish I was the dorky film kid in high school instead of being the football kid who's third string. It's not like I was getting anywhere being the sports kid, but I wanted to be the sports kid.
Yeah, well, that's good. I mean, I was gonna say like something we talk about a lot is like trying, for people that you have some way that you want to go. It's like you should just follow that.
Yeah.
Because if you don't, you're gonna regret it. And it's like, and if you try to do something that somebody else wants you to do, that's never gonna work out.
I was so, as a kid especially, I was so obsessed with image, with how people were seeing me, and in perception, and so I didn't follow my own path because like theater. Oh, my brothers hated theater, so I can't do theater.
You're like, I'm not gonna do that.
But I really wanted. I wanted to do theater, and that's all on me. I'm not gonna sit there.
But you knew back then you wanted to do it.
Yeah.
But that's the thing. Is
exactly.
Like it's so hard.
So I wanted to be the film kid, but I just never did.
And
so
like you said, your friends.
Travel,
like if your friends were more into it, you probably would have been more, but you didn't have those people that were into
also, if I got more involved in like the clubs in high school, I think that's one thing.
You could have.
I wrote a feature-length movie that's really a love letter to college clubs. And high school clubs too. I think
that's a good idea. I had this idea for a movie about college kids. I don't know, just like something about that is
the comedy club in college for me was my circle of friends as well. That's so much of my socializing. The people I still keep in contact with these days from college, 90% of them are from the comedy clubs, and so like I think there's a real value to high school and college clubs that we make fun of, and in my movie I make fun of them too. They are cheesy, they are, but they have a lot of value to them as well. And I think I could have made friends by joining an AV club in high school, and I just didn't know. That's the other thing. I wish I could time travel and just be like, hey, this is where you can find it. This is what you're looking for. Here's a map.
But I think it's good to make sure that young people or everybody knows that, because even if you're in your 30s, like it's never too late to start following
exactly
those those feelings and get into that, because
I didn't, I didn't get into comedy, or I didn't get into copywriting, which is a job I love now, until I was in my 30s. So I didn't start making films until in my 30s.
Yeah, because this is the first film that you've made that be like a
of that quality.
Yeah,
so I was in a sketch comedy before that called The Darned. You can find those videos on YouTube. They're very we all tried our best, but you know, it was a fun group. But yeah, so we made videos for that group as well.
So you had some experience.
But it was my time at Chamber Media, that was working at that agency, where I realized, this is how we can get quality. This is where I can rent equipment. That was a huge thing, is learning to rent equipment.
Yeah, because that's. I mean, with the school, they have a bunch of OCCC.
Yeah,
it's like that's a good resource if you go there, anyways. But yeah, there's film equipment houses that you can get stuff from, which that'd be cool. I'd be interested in working, because I love sound. I'm the sound guy. If you need a sound guy, call me.
I've got
the equipment.
I've got an idea for another short film. So
we'd have to get like a boom mic and a recorder, because I don't have that necessarily, but. I know all about it, but yeah, I'd be interested.
I've got an idea for a short film that I want to get the comedians involved as actors in, and that I want to film out here. So
for sure,
we can talk after the pod about
it. Because for me, I need to meet people that are camera guys, what are they called? Cam ops or whatever.
Yeah.
It's like
DPs.
Yeah, because I like, I love photography. I like doing that stuff, but I'm not into like filming. I would not be the person holding the camera or doing all that stuff if I was on a film. It's just not something that I'm that interested in necessarily. But it's like I can do it, but I'm not. It's better to meet people that I love.
I did the 48-hour film festival here in Oklahoma just so I could meet people. And that was great. I did. There's a few more people that I can talk to now. And
there's a lot of. I know a couple of people that I met in school that I'm interested in reaching out to and doing stuff, because they were getting started a couple years ago, but now they're doing their capstones and getting more involved in projects.
So all it takes, man, is just reaching out to the other people, even if you don't know them that well. Just be like, hey, this is something I'd love to do, like your work. If you'd love to collaborate, let me know.
So hopefully,
sometimes just asking is enough,
Yeah, well, I mean, that's the thing that's the lesson I need to take with producing shows in comedy is like, so many comedians are producing shows here, and I'm like, how are you getting these people? And they're like, I just asked.
Yeah.
Set them up.
What?
A lot of times it's what it is. Yeah. People are looking for something to do, something to fill that gap, and a lot of times
exactly.
It's just,
a lot of times
anything in there.
So
I think whenever you reach out to someone, it's like they feel very flattered. I think, and a lot of times, like, oh, you were thinking about me for this thing that you're doing. I mean, I think a lot of people are drawn to that.
If you approach it that way too, like, hey, I was at your venue. And man, this would be a great place.
This would be a great spot.
Even if it's not, just tell me that.
Well, there's I had this dream of buying out Neon Coffee on the plaza at the end there, just because I thought it'd be a perfect spot for a tight comedy venue. It did get bought out, but the new place that it's going to be, I think, would be a good spot for comedy. It's a margarita house.
Oh yeah,
cool.
So I don't know when it's opening, but as soon as it does, I'm going to try to reach out to the owner and be like, hey,
shows.
be like, hey man, I would love to get some shows here.
So did you do that in Utah and
No, I had a friend who was really good at that, and so he produced a ton of shows. It was called Happy Valley Comedy.
Nice.
I'm not sure how much he's still producing out there, but he produced so much that because of him, I was performing at least once a week in Utah.
Oh, nice.
Like I had a show once a week.
Well, if everybody produced one show, we'd all be doing pretty good.
That's true. That's true.
And it's so easy. I mean, the entry is just like how much you believe in yourself.
Yeah.
You just I know how to put an event together.
Yeah.
I might not be a great comedian, but I can put a mic.
You can host it.
Exactly.
And a PA together.
So shout out Ryan Provostgard of Happy Valley Comedy.
Yo, what up, Ryan?
He's great. He produced a lot of comedy shows because he had that event organization mentality. He just liked hanging out with comedians. He has a really good ear for comedy. Like he really knows who's a good comedian and who's not, but he doesn't really care to perform that much. Every now and then we'll tease him and he'll get on a mic and stuff. But he doesn't really care to like do comedy himself. He just likes comedians and comedy. And so, but he was really good at organizing events. In fact, I had a kind of like a residency at this theater called Improv Broadway in Provo, where I think I had the first Friday of every month. I just had a show I could do. And so I would do the show. Yeah, I did a show called the Comediathlon.
From Improv Broadway, this is the Comediathlon.
It was a 3-round comedy competition. I'd love to bring it back. I need to rework it. I think there's things we can do better, and I haven't figured out what that is yet.
Yeah.
But anyways, Ryan had a camera, and I was like, hey, man, I'd love to get some pictures for this for my Instagram. So I hired him to take photos, and then backstage, he was like, how did Tanner get you on the show? Like, talking to all the other comedians, and like, he asked?
Yeah.
He was like, just ask us if we do it. So Ryan got inspired by that and started producing shows in Utah and just asking the comedians around there. And really kind of helped build a scene down in Utah County.
Yeah.
Because Utah County and Salt Lake County are two completely different. Salt Lake County is where Salt Lake City is.
Yeah.
Utah County is where Provo is. And Utah County is the very more Mormon, clean, friendly.
So your shows had to be clean.
Most of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, most of them had to be clean.
Otherwise, people frequenting wouldn't be able to.
Right, you'd lose a lot of your audience, and that happened. There's a few shows that we lost because one comedian just went too far, and all of that.
How far is too far for a Mormon audience?
That's the hard thing. That's what gets really frustrating about clean is there's no real distinct line, and like some people. PG-13 is totally fine material, whereas other people, G-rated material might be too far.
Yeah.
So it's just, there is no distinct line, and it's really hard to clarify where that's going to be in a comedy show.
It seems like maybe here, a clean show is much easier to put together.
Yeah.
Because you can get up to PG-13 probably and be okay, but in Utah, it's probably like very, hard.
I had a show in Tulsa where I drove this professional comic from Oklahoma City to Tulsa with me, and then after the show we were talking, and in Tulsa I swore quite a bit, and like even told some sex jokes, and he's like, you're a clean comic, and I was like, I am? Like, I didn't feel like I was tonight, but like, yeah, the perspective of it too. I'm a huge advocate for clean comedy. God forbid audiences have their preferences, and if you can do clean, cater to those audiences. Brian Regan and Nate Bargatze do weeks in Salt Lake City.
Oh, yeah.
Brian Regan rents out, he does the Jazz Arena, the NBA Arena, for a week and sells out every show.
Yeah.
But it's probably
Bargatze's
easier,
getting up there too.
Like if you can pull that off, if you can pull off a good set that's clean, then it's probably like, oh, he has the run of the town because nobody else is doing that.
Exactly. So
I've got a lot of opportunities just because I'm clean.
Yeah.
You got a lot of opportunities just because I'm clean. Sorry, Liz.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
What the heck was that? That was just water too.
Golly! There's that voice
Golly!
Oh! That's mine and Liz's favorite joke.
The Becky voice.
We wait for that golly.
Golly!
When we first saw him.
When I was getting into sketch writing and when I was like my early days of comedy, I was kind of exploring character comedy as well. And I would dress up as this teenage girl named Becky, and I would read from my diary.
That's awesome.
Those are still on YouTube somewhere, the Becky videos. Dear Diary, today sucked. Cindy Neville is the devil. Dear Diary, Cindy Neville is the devil. I cannot believe she did this to me. Just before school started, I would have told you that Cindy would be my new best friend. She was so nice, but now she sucks. That's one of the episodes I remember. But yeah, I wrote like just a season's worth of diary entries of this girl in
awesome.
high school. It was fun.
That's fun to like put yourself in the perspective that's completely different.
Those were the early days when I was like really like I gotta figure out how to get voice acting into my comedy quick because I don't do voices in my comedy really other than golly.
Yeah, you don't really do. It's an interesting thing. I don't.
Sometimes I'll sing.
Nobody really does impressions that I've seen. Maybe it's like not in style anymore to do a lot of impressions, like overall for comedy.
Brandon will do some.
Yeah,
Brandon will do some for his
I don't know.
Dolly
It's
Parton
something
bit.
I thought about recently. It's
He's
like
got that new Cosby bit. He does Cosby really well.
Yeah.
Definitely not on the like Dana Carvey level of impressions.
It used to be really. I mean, I think that if you can do a good impression, then it usually hits. I mean, but it's kind of rare to find.
It's so important to be an individual now.
Yeah.
Because that's really the only difference.
Well, if you're doing impressions, SNL is still very valuable for SNL auditions.
Yeah, it's definitely still.
Kid I went to high school with did a season of SNL.
Oh.
And he did musical comedy, and then he did like. They asked if he had any impressions, and he posted on his TikTok the other day. He did an impression of Jay Cutler. He's like, I don't do impressions, so he just did Jay Cutler, and all he did was just smoke cigarettes and be like, I don't give a shit what's going on right now.
That's really funny whenever it's like, because there are some people that do some.
Keep doing that. I'm sorry.
I think I've seen some people do some bits where it's like impressions, but they're not actually impressions. They're just jokes where it's like combining two people. And I think that's funny, but it's not actually good impressions. But it's just so funny. Joke.
I'm a huge SNL guy, and so like it seems like every week there's a sketch that'll be like a cyclorama of impressions. Basically, it's just come in. Oh, here's John Mulaney reading Britney Spears' book. And then I shaved my head, and then that's all it is. And then they go off and there's another celebrity. Yeah. And Al Pacino, those were the hardest years of my life. That's all it is. It's just all the comedians doing their best impressions.
That's pretty good.
And putting it into a game.
I haven't watched SNL in a while.
SNL.
So I used to love it. But
it's so. I know a lot of people love to rip on SNL, and it's fair. But I watch SNL from a different perspective, which to me. From a production standpoint, I am fascinated that they take 0 on Monday and make an hour-and-a-half show on Saturday. The they have nothing. And then they made an hour-and-a-half show. Whenever a sketch is, like, good, that's, like, a slam dunk victory. Because, like, it's hard. It's hard to do that in 1 week. And so
it's probably some people, that's why I think nobody realizes that, so it's easy to be like, oh, this is not good. Well, it's like they did it in 4 days.
They did it in 4 days. What would you do? Yeah.
What would you do?
I think I think when they do get a good sketch, that's when you're like, oh yes, they did it. And when it's bad, it's like, man, they had 4 days to do this. And like the fact that they had 4 days and they got set design, they've got costumes, they have makeup, and they're doing this live in an hour and a half. Watching it from that perspective makes Saturday Night Live almost like a game. And it's so fun to watch from that perspective.
That's interesting. I'll have to think about that the next time I watch it. But
I love it. I love it, man. The fact that they do it so quickly.
I think it's, for me, I've always just been fascinated by the performers themselves and the ability to put on a live show like that and do it as well as they do it. I think it's incredible.
There's a new cast member. I can't remember her name now. But she did, look up Orphan in the Moon, Timothy Chalamet. Oh, yeah. It's Timothy Chalamet's episode a few weeks ago. And it's this orphan who keeps not getting adopted. And she sings a song to the moon about it. And she's got pipes. Yeah. She sings so well. The song is so funny. The whole sketch is brilliantly done.
Check that out.
So yeah, I can't remember her name now, but that actress, she's gonna be big. I think she's gonna be like the standout from this new cast. So
that's good. And that's the thing about SNL is like it makes people into stars. I mean, really. So
well, like Bowen Yang, I remember his first seasons. Yeah, he wasn't like nailing every sketch, but you could just tell when you saw Bowen, you're like, he's gonna be the one from this class that really stands out. So, and then, like, the kid I went to high school with didn't stand out, and after one season got cut. And it's because he thought they brought him on because he was a musical comedian. And I listened to them talk about this in interviews, and they liked him just because of, like, one sketch he did in his audition. But nobody really communicated that to him, so he never really tried to do anything in that realm. And so his best sketches got cut for time. His name's Luke Knoll. His best sketch is Wedding Toast. It's where he sings a song to John Mulaney and his new wife, who's Cecily Strong, I think is who it was. And the whole song is about how they're f***ing each other behind John's back. It's a great song.
Awesome.
It's a great sketch.
Yeah. What is it called? What's his name?
Luke Knoll.
Luke Knoll.
Null. He just filmed a special. I don't know when it's coming out, but
oh, nice. Cool.
He's a very funny comedian. I got to do a show, or I didn't do a show with him, but I was at the same festival as him in Sacramento last year, And it was cool to catch up and be like, hey, you are miles ahead of where I want to be.
That's awesome to know someone like that, and to, you could hit him up if you ever, even wanted to.
Well, if he ever comes down here, I'm definitely gonna reach out and be like, hey man, I'd love to open for you.
Do something.
Because what's Oklahoma City want but 2 Cincinnati kids?
That's cool though.
So yeah, it's cool to see that, and I love following him and seeing that he's doing very well for himself now, and because he stayed in his niche. He's still doing musical comedy. Right. Gets his guitar up there.
That's cool.
Just sings songs, but very fun. He's very fun.
So what was this Neverland PD thing?
Oh, Neverland PD I co-wrote.
Did you?
Okay, yeah, nice. Neverland PD is a great one too. That's Spencer Berry, the one who produced Be With Me. He came up with this idea for Neverland PD, which was the idea of doing Reno 911 set in Neverland. That's essentially what it was.
I like the premise a lot.
And so he had a lot of the ideas for the characters and who he wanted the characters to be, and what their relationship with each other was. And then we both worked at Chamber Media at the same time, and so one day after work, we just got on a whiteboard in one of the rooms and just stayed there until we kind of blocked out the storylines.
What'd that look like? How'd you block it out? What'd you do?
It's messy, man. Basically, I think we rewrote the storyline a few times too. So that's, writing is rewriting.
Yeah.
But basically, we just write down anything on the board that we think is funny. Here's the storyline. Here's what if we think about this. Early on, we thought it would be funny if Captain Hook hated Crocs, the shoes.
Yeah, it's so good.
And so somewhere around there, I was like, what if there's a Croc ring? Because the Croc ring and cock ring is just funny. So there's a drug ring, but it's with Crocs. And so I drew, Crocs in a circle. So we came along that idea pretty quick. Spencer knew that we wanted to focus on Nibley as the main character and that he would be a new recruit. So really it's just kind of writing down the ideas we have and then just anything that comes to mind. Be like, oh, what if this happens? And then the more you write, the more you can kind of find connections over here. So so we did this, and they're like, oh, but, we have Tinkerbell doing this, and oh, so if she does this, that can help cross over to this storyline.
Are you marking out your exposition, rising action,
no,
climax, and or within that, or
I wrote that with my feature-length film. I wrote it that way.
Yeah.
With the kind of the save the cat beat sheet. But with this one, no, because it was going to be shorter. We just kind of watched a few episodes of Reno 911, kind of got the idea of that, and no, we didn't really do anything like that.
Circle story kind of thing.
But it kind of fit itself into that path anyways.
I think that sometimes, I think there's something about that, because Dan Harmon, the guy
the
from...
Story Circle, Community and Rick and Morty.
Writer. But anyways... Yeah, his theory, I think that's just almost a natural thing you can't almost get away from.
So if you watch, especially if you watch Harmontown, or was it Harmontown? Harmon Quest, you'll notice he naturally does that with his characters too.
Yeah, that's what I thought was interesting, that he does it in so many different levels, so it's just what the hell?
Yeah. Harmon Quest, that D&D thing he did?
Yeah.
Dude, that was fun.
You'll notice a lot of his character will make choices that kind of force that story circle to happen.
It's weird. I think it's some kind of natural. I think it's almost like music, where it's music is there's this natural, the circle of fifths or what, it's all these different.
Yeah.
It's a natural thing in the world, and it's similar with stories, and I don't know, maybe.
So that's how I wish I could say, mainly because I wish it would make it easier for myself too. I wish I could say that there was just a drag and drop method to story writing.
Yeah.
Of okay, here's everything, and the beat sheet does help. I've done beat sheets before.
Helps you look at it in a way.
But really, the way Neverland PD was written was we wrote down things we thought would be fun. We crossed out ideas that didn't work. We said stupid things. We said smart things. And we just put it all on the board and visually looked at it and then crossed out, erased, rewrote.
Yeah.
Until we thought, this is a good story. And then I wrote the first, I think, I could be wrong. I think I wrote the first script, and then Spencer looked at that, and then he wrote the second draft based off the first draft. And then once he wrote that, I really got an idea of where he was going for, and just helped punch that up. And so so we co-wrote that one together.
That's cool.
And then Spencer directed that one, and he was already a creative lead at Chamber Media, so he had a lot more directing experience than I did with B. Did we film Neverland PD? We might have filmed that after B. I can't remember when we filmed that. We filmed that. A lot of it filmed at Chamber Media, though.
I didn't see. Is that one on your YouTube also?
It's not on my YouTube.
Okay. I'll have to look it up.
But yeah, Neverland PD, man, I'm super proud of that one. I play Sergeant Smee.
Yeah, Sergeant Smee.
The right-hand man to Hook.
Nice.
Hook is played by Adam Browd, who's a very funny stand-up comic as well in Utah. And he also does a ton of improv. So he was just really good with his character and just coming up with like staying in character, which I envy so much. I want to take acting classes so I can be better at like staying in character. I loved working on that one, man. We keep talking about making a second one, and I would love to. And then it's just hard with us being in different states.
What was the length of that one? What did you say? What do you think?
Neverland PD, 12 to 15, I think, wasn't it?
So I like these bite-sized. It almost feels better.
But that's
like telling that smaller story.
Yeah. That's how a lot of filmmakers do, because it's so hard to make anything at all. But like 10 minutes is like this short film kind of length,
like
usually.
Yeah, 14:48.
Okay, so I mean,
so about 15 minutes.
How long do you think it took to make?
Oh yeah.
It took us 2 days.
2 days, but everybody on
to write,
film, write and film.
Oh no, to shoot.
Yeah,
it took us 2 days to shoot.
2 days to shoot.
Writing took us once we actually like sat down. It took us about a week or two to write out to block out the story and write out the script.
It's like all that planning and everything.
Yeah, that's still not that bad, man.
Well,
it took
and
a lot more.
That's the fun of working for a creative agency, is I think because we did it full time. Our full-time job was I wrote scripts and then sent them to Spencer, and Spencer and his team would look at the script and say, how do we build this out into a set and film it and put it on, as an ad. That was our day job.
Yeah.
So to do it for stuff for our own personal projects, we had access to a lot of the equipment that we needed. We had access to space that we needed. And then we had creative access too with all of that. And so, like the guy who played Nibley, same thing with like how I loved working with Kenna and thought she was a great actress. Nibley is another actor that we had worked with that Spencer's like, I like the way this guy looks. I like his act. I want him to be, our new rookie. So yeah, it's really, that was our day jobs, was doing it for advertising clients, except instead of doing films for protein powder, we got to do Neverland PD, which was so fun.
Dude, you've lived some lives.
Yeah, dude, I've lived so many lives.
I'm glad you're here.
Yeah.
When did you get here?
February.
Yeah.
So only recently.
Yeah, almost a year.
It seems like you've been a part of this for a while.
Oh, well, like, I joked with people in Utah before I moved here. I was like, if there's not a comedy scene, I don't know how to make friends.
Right.
So, like,
I think you came here at the right time, because we talked about it.
It feels like that.
It's like this, obviously post-pandemic, but it's like the comedy scene is just really come from my perspective out of nowhere, but I think it's been around a lot longer than
overnight sensations have years of work.
Well, there's a lot more people with consistency in it, I feel.
Yeah, it's just like I think the community
really
and the audiences are kind of here for it too at this time. So
you can really see the progression too, because I feel like at the club you go watch people, because that's where I try. I mean, not that I'm not trying anywhere else, but you know what I'm saying?
Right.
You try to get up there and like, okay, this is the best opportunity for me to do jokes. It's the best scenario. And then like JJ's or the other open mics, you're just kind of like, all right, let me get this under my tongue.
These are harder rooms, but still.
Yeah, I haven't done JJ's yet, just because Thursdays I'm always at my girlfriend's place.
You're not missing.
That's what I've heard.
But it's like doing the deadlifts,
Yeah.
It's like,
well, that's like Grand Royale.
Yeah,
that's a tough one.
That's a tough one.
Grand Royale is so hard because it's mostly comedians, and it's the second mic of the day, and it's later in the week, so it's just like most of us have already seen most of these jokes already, which is why I always do a lot of free writing when I'm doing Grand Royale.
Do you just kind of go off your head?
Yeah, just go off what's going on. That's why one of the bartenders is like, I love how you always make jokes about the movie that's playing. It's like, because I know they're not going to laugh at my other jokes I did this week.
Same ones they already know.
I know they're not going to laugh at. I just moved here from Utah, and for your next question, I used to be. Like, you guys have heard that a million times now.
Yeah.
See,
But
that's the
open
thing.
mics, I always try to do jokes that need work. I don't really work on that joke anymore.
Yeah, you got it.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
down.
Yeah.
I've seen that hit every time I've been up at Bricktown.
Yeah.
I mean, unless it's just that's something that's really weird to me is like you'll be at Bricktown and it's like the people showed up to be mad.
Oh,
you know
yeah.
what I'm saying? Where it's just like we're not getting anything, and I know this joke is pretty funny.
Yeah.
You know, like, and it's just a part of it.
Yeah.
You know, it's like going fishing and getting skunked.
Yeah.
You're like, at least you're prepared to do well.
Bricktown,
You know?
Bricktown's definitely where I feel the most pressure to try to kill it at a mic, but I also try to only work on material that needs to be worked on as well.
Yeah.
Like if you see me at Bricktown mic and I do my crazy straws joke, that means I'm panicking and like just want to do good, and I don't feel confident, which is not good. You know, you need to be working on material. So
I try to do like something good up top, so it looks like I know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And then all my new stuff in the middle, and then maybe something at the bottom that I know it'll hit.
Right.
Just like a little, because then at least I'm
Yeah,
like,
it gives
all
you
right.
the confidence a little bit.
We can gauge whether they're good.
Well, that's why I always start with short jokes.
Yeah.
Is someone you know at the Sacramento Comedy Festival, there are a few judges. There's a panel where the judges rewatched the audition tapes and said what they liked and didn't like about them. And so mine was one of them that they watched, and I started with that joke. No, I started with the 600-pound life joke.
Oh,
Did you ever watch my 600-pound life just for the recipes? And they said what they liked is that you start with just a quick joke that immediately gets the audience on your side.
Yeah.
That's why I love one-liners. I love one-liners because like you can do them so fast and just immediately.
And it's like you're not wasting a bunch of time with setup, and then it's like it doesn't even hit. So it's like, what's the point?
It immediately lets the crowd know, hey, this is the kind of comedian I'm going to be.
Yeah.
That's
right
why I
away.
do the J.C. Penney's one.
Yeah.
Like I'll be like, I'm what J.C. Penney's calls a husky boy.
Yeah.
And then you're immediately like, I got puppy dog energy. That's kind of what I bring to the table. So you're like, oh, I see. And then I've got stuff after that. Like I've got 4 different directions I can go.
Yeah.
And that I've kind of just built. Like I like this one line because it really kind of picks up who I am, and it's like a joke right off the bat, and they completely connect. And then I've got these other places I can go with it if I need to.
Yeah.
You know.
And that's the great thing is like start with those quick one-liners, especially in shows. Get the audience on your side right away, and then you just establish right away. We're gonna have a fun time.
Yeah.
This is gonna be fun.
Because it builds that confidence and they trust you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's gonna be silly.
Yeah,
it's
like
gonna be
that.
good. So I learned that from the judges at the Sacramento Festival too. To like, there is value in starting with quick one-liners and just get them on your side. Just establish it right away.
Yeah, I think you got that with that crazy straw one too.
I
Between
love it.
Golly and crazy straw. Right now. Yeah.
Golly is a fun one.
That last put a cork in it. The Mormon stuff. You said you only had a few.
I was only planning on doing like.
Did you have that other stuff prepared though?
Ish. I've done those jokes before and like talked about it, so it's not like it was all brand new. But I wasn't really planning on doing that much.
I hadn't heard that much.
Yeah.
So.
It was just hidden, and so I was like, all right, let's just keep talking about it. But I was only planning on doing like 1 or 2 jokes, and then just going on the rest of the set, and then I was like, we'll just keep staying here.
Well, the ex-Mormon friends that I had that I brought, they were like, "How much is he doing?" I wanted, I want a lot.
Yeah,
and that's why I wanted you to bash Mormonism.
I'm not into bashing though, because it's just like, for me, it's very nuanced. One, my family, I'm the only one in my family that's out of the church.
Oh, okay.
And like, not only that, like my parents were like mission presidents, so like, that's like, so when you see the Mormon missionaries, there's a director over all those missionaries. My parents were that for 3 years in the Philippines, so like. They're in it. Like, my family's in it. And, like, I was in it. So I don't like bashing the church because I sympathize. I understand. It's like, from your perspective, of course you believe it. From my perspective, of course I don't. But, like, who am I to say that I could be wrong. I could be the one who's wrong here. And so I'm not going to make fun of people for what they believe. I'm going to make fun of myself for what I believed and like how I went about it.
I think it's a lot of it, to me, it's like I don't really know much about Mormonism. So hearing about it and learning about it is a part of it too. Just learning, that's what those people believe, and it's just like, that's fine.
And that's
what they...
That's one thing that always bothered me when I was younger too, is like you'd hear jokes about Mormons. And like, I think I talked about it at Wine and Cork, of like, they haven't done polygamy for over 100 years by the time I was born. So polygamy is so nothing to a Mormon.
Yeah.
That like when people are like, "Hey, how many wives does your dad have?" It's the same as like asking a person who's from Ireland, being like, "Whew, really struggling for those potatoes, huh?" Like, yeah, that one time.
Yeah.
Sure.
Nobody
that joke would have
remembers.
killed 100 years ago, but nobody cares now.
Well, that. I think that's a good point as far as like what you're saying too. Is like, hey, we don't know, so that's right for just like, hey, let me educate you.
Yeah.
While also showing you my personal.
It's like you're poking fun at it in a way where it's like, this is ridiculous, isn't it? Or some parts.
And it's so strange because in Utah it's almost hacky to do Mormon jokes, because like.
Yeah, it's like it doesn't.
We've heard all the same jokes.
It's not as interesting or new to people that know everything about it.
And well, like everyone in Utah is an ex-Mormon, right. So it's like, another ex-Mormon just got out of the church.
Yeah.
So like, it's weird. Like Utah, it's very hacky, and then to come out here where people don't really know about Mormons, and it's still kind of a religious state, so they can kind of make those side relations and stuff.
Makes sense.
It makes for an interesting dynamic for sure. So. But I do struggle because like I don't want to be known as like a Mormon comedian. Yeah. I am. I know I am, but like I want to make sure that I'm building out my comedy profile as more than just Mormon jokes, and make sure I'm also telling jokes about how I hate camping and getting CTE from sock and boppers, stuff like that. So yeah. It's kind of a weird balance for me. I think that's why I didn't want to only do Mormon jokes, but it was working.
Yeah,
everyone was having fun with it. So
that's a good thing that we talk a lot. It's like reading your audience and figuring that out. I mean, that's something that is a part of it. It's why, if it's working, don't stop.
Exactly.
Well, and that you're right. I mean, when you were doing it, it's a lot, like you said, from your perspective.
Yeah.
And really, I mean, you're going, hey, I'm new to this world. This is how I used to believe, and now this is how it's affected me.
Yeah.
And then, like I said, it's an education moment for the people. Like, every time I hear about it, I'm like, what else do I not know?
Yeah.
And I'm looking for that.
Well, and like things that like I forget are funny too. Like I went to a different town to buy my first beer because I was afraid someone from my own town would see me.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
You can't drink it all?
What?
You can't drink it all?
You can't drink it all in the church. And so, my first beer I bought in a Walmart in American Fork, which is just north of Provo, because I was afraid someone from Provo would recognize me.
Yeah.
And I bought a Guinness in a can because I didn't even know beers. I just looked in the mirror and I was like, I think this is a Guinness person.
I think that was actually maybe the first beer I'd ever tasted also. And I
was it Guinness?
Yeah.
It's a great beer now.
I don't like
it's
it.
a stout.
I don't like it now,
first,
honestly.
Oh man, I love it now.
Yeah.
I mean, I can appreciate. I like because is it a IPA? No,
it's a stout.
Or stout, right? Because the IPAs are like a little bit less, like it's similar but not as bad.
IPAs are more bitter.
I don't know. I don't like stout or IPA, but but it's like I can appreciate some IPAs.
My first beer was Steele Reserve. You remember that trash? Yeah, dude, it was not.
Remember, I didn't start drinking till.
Oh yeah, you did. Listen, let me go get you a Steele Reserve.
My first beer was, I kid you not, March of 2020.
Yeah.
Oh. Okay.
So like, if God is real, it's on me. It was right before the pandemic.
So you bought that beer, but did you drink it?
Yeah.
You drank it? Okay.
Yeah, I drank it with, and I had a thing of bagel bites to go with it.
Way to go.
It was, it was
buzz
Guinness from a can, which is just, no. Guinness from a draft is great, but like...
I think mine was in a bottle, but I didn't even drink the whole thing. I just tasted it. I was like, "This is not good. What is this?" Like,
it's just beer's not good to begin with.
Really, it's not. I love craft beers. Like I said, I stopped drinking in March of this year.
Oh yeah,
but I mean, I still appreciate beer for sure, and like that's probably my favorite. Like I would never drink liquor again. Whiskey I do, or Scotch is really good, but I never really was a liquor person besides unless I was just heavily drinking.
Well, I'm really grateful that like because I grew up not drinking.
Yeah,
I don't really feel like the need to drink for events or like social hangouts or anything like that. Like just like if there's some there, I might have one drink maybe, but like I only have a drink once every other week.
That's good.
Once a week maybe at most.
Yeah.
So like yeah.
Yeah, there are some like craft beers. There's some stuff that it's like this beer is very very people put a lot of attention and time into making it, different than Bud Light or whatever.
Well, when you grow up only drinking water and Dr. Pepper, you have a sweet tooth for it too. So like,
at least you had Dr. Pepper.
The Dr. Pepper, thank goodness, thank goodness, man. I it's funny at BYU Idaho, I almost got in trouble for giving out free cans of Coke to students during finals week. Because the church is very controversial on caffeine.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
There's an official. By the way, the official statement from the church is that caffeine is okay. So, but because the church banned coffee and tea, and never really clarified why, a lot of members are like, "Well, what's the connection? Must be caffeine." So they think caffeine is bad.
Yeah.
But like during finals week, I'm not sure if every college has these, but BYU Idaho had testing centers. Where it's just like a room where you get your test and you take your test there instead of like going to class and taking it.
Yeah.
So finals week, that line to the testing center would get huge. So I'd buy 100 cans of Coke and Diet Coke, and me and my friends would just hand them out to people. And twice when I did that, of the 6 semesters I did that, twice faculty got mad at me and like tried to get me kicked out. Not out of the school, but like to stop and try to get me in trouble.
Well, at least you got that story. I almost got kicked out of school because of cocaine.
Not cocaine, Coke cans.
There it is. Coke cans.
Coke cans. You know that.
They almost got you.
That. Shoot, why can I not think of the guitarist's name now? From Cream. Eric Clapton. You know Eric Clapton's song, dee dee doo doo, dee doo, Coke cans, dee dee.
That's the clean version.
Yeah.
You got anything else, Nick?
We need to talk about this new fashion trend you're starting called comfort core.
Oh hell yeah! So is that what comedians are noticing in me?
That's what I noticed. I saw that you made this like really nice like little outfit, like it's I don't know what it was, but you called it comfort core.
Okay.
And it was like,
oh, was that the pants I made?
Yeah.
I made pants out of neoprene.
Yeah.
Those are super comfy. In fact, for Christmas I promised my girlfriend I'd make matching neoprene jumpsuits for us.
Oh, nice.
So you might see more of that as well.
Nice.
Dude, comfort core is great because, like, God forbid you're like comfortable and happy around people.
I love that because that's where I sit. If I'm comfortable, I'm probably more confident. Than if I look good.
These European suits, man, they're so tight. Like you can see their arms bulging out, and you're like, it's not comfortable. Like, they're like. The reason they're so intense is because like, I'm in pain!
Dude.
These sleeves are tight!
Just like being constricted, dude.
Dude, comfort core. I'm not sure if I don't think I coined that. That's...
No, you didn't? Okay.
Probably not. Like, I made it up.
You embody it, dude.
I made it up on the spot there. But I bet comfort core is a real thing.
Yeah.
If you would Google it.
Yeah, but
I appreciate every time you go up or have a show, or even like if you're at Bricktown and you're just doing an open mic, man, you always got like really cool earrings going. You make thoughtful choices.
Yeah.
And I really I wish I did that more for myself.
And that's all it is thoughtful choices. You know, like, and that ties it back to how we kind of started this pod is like, just be the best version of you. And remember, be a version of you that you want the audience to perceive of you.
Right.
You have control through your appearance of like, it shouldn't mean things sometimes. You know, like a girl in a skimpy bikini, it's not her fault when a guy gets horny thoughts. You know, that's on the guy. But also, it is a choice.
Yeah.
You know, and like, you can have awareness of what your appearance does to other people.
So do the bikini then.
Do the bikini. Yeah. You know, so like, I really wholly believe that like your outfit is it's the outward expression of who you are. So just make those thoughtful choices.
Yeah.
Because the earrings is fun. I always knew I wanted to get earrings. I got these pierced in like April. So I'm still very much like a middle schooler, having a lot of fun with the earrings and like doing the crazy ones. It's a lot of fun. Thoughtful choices. You're presenting who you are to the audience, and just be aware of that.
Yeah, dude. I think I'm gonna take this and I'm gonna try some new stuff.
Love it.
Maybe some some flannel instead of plaid. What do you think?
Honestly, especially as winter's coming,
yeah,
I think you'd look really good in a flannel or like a denim jacket for sure. You give me like a denim and like a blue collar jacket kind of vibe.
Yeah,
I mean, you are a blue collar worker, right?
And Dad, I had this like jacket I got from Sam's
Sam's Club.
But a lady called me out. Right when I got on stage, I was just like, "Hey guys, I would get bullied a lot." She's like, "Yeah, probably by your kids." I was like, "I didn't even say I had kids. You just picked that out from how I look."
Yeah,
she's like, "I must look like a dad." I was like, "You too can look like a dad." $13 at Sam's.
Yeah,
you know.
See,
and so it hit, you know.
Yeah.
So I kind of dug that side of it. So I might lean into a little
do
bit.
it. Yeah.
Like when I do my contractor jokes, I'll like wear boots.
Yeah.
You know, just kind of really lean into it.
Exactly.
Maybe, I never think about that being an aspect you could use to like portray like out in, I mean, anyways, I'm still new with all this stuff, so.
We're all new. We're all figuring. I'm 9 years in and I'm still figuring this out. So
but yeah, comfort core.
9 years in, still doing mostly open mics. So you know, take all of my advice.
That's what it is. I mean,
for what it is.
Yeah. I got one more.
Yeah.
Is there any skills from being Mormon that helped with comedy?
Performance, man. Mormons love performing. I don't know what it is because it's not like we perform at church. Church is very quiet and reverent. We love that word, reverent. But Mormons love singing. They love theater. Like if you're a theater nerd,
are there a lot of actors, I guess, too?
Yeah,
like
there's
Mormon
Ryan Gosling is Mormon. Was. So yeah, like if you're obsessed with theater, you're probably Mormon or gay.
Yeah.
Like that's the truth of it. That's the joke of it, but it's the truth too. Panic at the Disco. Brendan Urie was Mormon, and he said the same thing. It's just like there's something about the Mormon community that loves performance.
Might be. I wonder if it's like I don't know because I don't know a ton about but it's like how they suppress things. I mean, they do obviously suppress a lot of things, but it's like this self-expression gets suppressed in so many ways that it's like it almost has to come out some way.
That would make sense.
So it's gonna come
and
out
in the
things
space.
that they can't do with acting or singing.
So that, and then I think one other skill that, as I'm thinking more about it, it's like missionaries. You were taught to study the scriptures. I mean, like, know the scriptures front and back to be able to... Like, when I was a missionary, I could quote scriptures without looking them up. I could just... If you were to say something, be like, yeah, and then Jesus said this, and I could just go for a relevant scripture just off the top of my head to know it that front and back. But Elder Bednar, who is a apostle, one of the 12 apostles for the church, has this thing on how to study scriptures more efficiently. Or he says the 3 phases of scripture study, which is to be able to just read it front to back. That's kind of the basics of scripture study. Just know it. And then the second step is to be able to recall and memorize. He said the third step is to be able to find connections between scriptures. And that's where I think comedy is. Comedy is finding connections between things. There's this really cool video on like how late night writers write their jokes. And really all it is taking 2 setups and finding the connections between those two, or 2 subjects and finding the connection between those subjects, right? Like the example they used there was that Trump was his model was put into the Hall of Presidents at Disney World, right? So your subjects are Trump and Disney World, and so the joke was like he immediately deported Aladdin. Because that's your connection is what is Trump hates immigrants. Aladdin is an immigrant. There you go. Awesome. So comedy in its purest form is finding connection between 2 subjects, and I think as scripture study, as a Mormon who did that with scriptures, that's a lot of what you're doing too.
I wonder, also, well, you said you had to memorize all that stuff. It's like that could go into jokes too, because you're writing so many jokes that you have to remember.
Well, and because when I did, what did I do? 25 Mormon jokes, basically. And I only planned on doing 5. It's just recalling. It's just
and then they say, and then
studying and practicing, and knowing in the moment that it'll come.
It's like the internalization of things. To me, it's something I try to think about. I think for so much of my life, I've just stressed over like remembering details and remembering things that I needed to do, and trying to like force yourself to do things right. But there's so much of it. It's like this stuff. Just trust yourself.
Trust and practice.
Whenever it comes time, you're gonna be able to do it if you're not stressed out about trying to remember to do things or whatever it is you're doing.
The time for prep work is over once it's done.
There's something. That's a good quote. I've been meaning to bring up or just post on social media, but something about whenever the pressure is on, we don't rise to the occasion. We fall to our highest level of preparation.
Yeah. Oh, I like that.
Yeah.
And it's
I like that quote though.
It's
yeah.
like that's not. And people say that you rise to you don't rise to the occasion. You have to rely on what you've done.
Lately, I found my better shows have been if I just, before I go to the show, just listen to old sets.
Yeah.
And just reread
just try to
all my old
take it
jokes,
in.
and then just relax and just trust myself. So I love that quote.
Yeah.
About your highest preparation.
Yeah, because when the pressure's on, you don't have time to think about anything.
It's funny because for an art form that has to present itself as someone who doesn't take it that seriously, there's a lot that you can take seriously about comedy and like really try and study. I mean, Kevin Hart, one of the hardest working comedians out there, and look how much that's paying off for him, you know.
Yeah.
So like there's a lot to take seriously about it.
Yeah.
And you know, there's some comedians who don't, and they still do well. But I think because they've established that habit of not trying, there's only so much that it'll take them, and it could take them far.
Yeah.
But there is a limit, and so the better habit is to know that it's an art form that you got to work on and really try for. And I say that saying I got to work so much harder too.
I mean, we all like.
It's hypocritical of me to call out other people when I myself can be much better.
But yeah, I think we all can. I think everybody struggles with, even I look at myself as someone that outputs a lot and is, if I'm not creating, I get depressed. That's what happened over pandemic.
Yeah.
So I learned a lot about myself through that. It's like I have to. That's why I do this show. It's like it forces me to create something every week, which is good for me because I don't always have things that I'm working on and I can get into a bad headspace.
With clothes, man, if I just make a piece of clothing over the weekend, I'm always happier.
Yeah.
There's something about us creatives and that like.
But so even with that, it's like. But even still, it's like I know there's always more that I could be doing.
Yes.
Even as much as I do.
There's always going to be more.
And so it doesn't matter what
problem.
level you're at. You could always be doing more. And sometimes you shouldn't always expect yourself to do more. Sometimes you have to take a step back and take care of yourself first.
But I think that's the common thread between creatives is that we get a lot of our joy from the creation.
Right.
Not even from the audience and like the feedback. It's just like the idea of like I had zero today and I made something out of it.
Yeah.
I think is a common thread between creatives.
That's what I like about comedy versus doing music. I've done music for a long time, but then I literally have nothing but a pencil and a paper.
Yeah.
And then I could go tell these to my wife or just like a friend and just be like, what do you think about this?
Yeah.
And then it's like, oh, that's pretty funny. And then I can go to a crowd and do it. I do a lot of my stuff in front of my customers. I killed over on 31st Street this week, dude. Dude. Oh, Gloria, dude, she loved me, dude. But I'll do a lot of that, and that keeps my stuff clean too.
The number of times I'll just text a friend at like 2 a.m. Like, hey, is this joke funny? Hey, man, but that's great.
So was that all you had? I have one final thing.
I just, like I said, I have
it's already been over.
So,
I just want to ask you this as a person.
I know I talk a lot.
So, but your writing process, like for comedy, do you just think of something? Do you go in and you write every day?
I'm trying to be better at actually writing every day. So lately it is just kind of like living life, and then when a thought comes up, I'll write it down as an idea, and then I'll come up with a few punchlines, try it on stage, and then if it goes well, take note of what went well. If it bombs, take note of what bombed. And my theory, most comedians, especially at the open mic level, when they bomb, it's because the punchline isn't where the audience thought it would be. And so like I find a lot of bomb is audience, it's not the audience being like, a lot of times it's the audience leading in. And it's just what you said was a punchline is just still the setup. So you just need to reestablish what your punchline is. I'm still relearning my writing process, and that's a constant thing for me. Lately, what I've been doing that's been pretty helpful is this was a Goldman tip, Gary Goldman. Have you read any of the Goldman tips?
Oh yeah.
So one of his is to write a comedy, like write someone else's comedy set word for word. So I've been watching Shane Gillis's Beautiful Dog special because I love that one, and just writing down his comedy word for word. And then I'm in the middle of that. Turns out it takes a while to transcribe.
Especially you're pausing.
Well, they have
they
have a website. that transcribes all the comedy.
But
specials.
you gotta do it by hand.
Yeah. Well, I get what you're saying. That's a good one.
So I'm transcribing it by hand because I think there's just that extra layer of you being honed into it.
Yeah.
But by doing that, it's making me realize that Shane Gillis really is the basic comedy formula of a lot of his jokes, which is set up, punchline, act out. So it's set up. America. He's like, America's better than other countries. Punchline is just like, when I drive around Australia, I'm like, this is what you got?
Yeah.
That's his punchline. I'm screwing up his joke. And then his act out is him just making fun of Australians,
So you
Australian accent's not doing this.
And you pull out from that punchline more funny stuff.
So he does that. Lately I've been trying word trees too, where for camping, I just wrote camping in the middle.
The word mind map.
Mind map.
That's what he calls it.
Yeah. Word tree, mind map, all the same stuff. I wrote camping in the middle, and then I just outside. I wrote. It's tents and bugs and bears and anything that I have that I think of when I think of camping.
Yeah.
And then I mind map off of those ones until eventually I find words that just are funny to me. Or so one of the jokes I just wrote for camping, I wrote camping and then tents, and then I was like, why do I hate camping in tents? It's like, well, it's because buildings are air conditioned. I love.
It's like it makes you think of that.
And so that led me to that. So the joke now is, I don't like sleeping where the air isn't conditioned. My air is well behaved. Outside.
I like that. Yeah.
It's not conditioned. So that's what I've been trying lately is mind maps. It's a process that I'm learning myself and constantly reevaluating and trying over and over and trying to just be better at it too.
There's so many different things you can do, so you
consistency.
Try different things.
Right.
That's what I need to be best
just
at.
Do whatever it is. Just do it.
Consistency is what I need to be best at.
Yeah.
And then of course writing on stage. I mean, open mics.
Yeah.
Really are such a valuable thing.
Yeah.
Even for places like Grand Royale, where if the comics aren't laughing at my jokes, it's still a chance for me to nail the pacing of my jokes. And
that's
be familiar with my own jokes. So when I default and free write instead, I am hurting myself in a way.
Yeah. But you're working another muscle.
I'm working a different muscle for sure. So ebb and flow to that.
Yeah.
But that's my writing process.
I feel like whenever you have a show coming up, that's when you try to do that where you kind of. I feel like whenever you do those sets at a place where they're not really paying attention, that's where you build your nerve.
Yes.
And so you're like, all right, I'm going to do this set without faltering while no one's listening.
Yeah.
I try to take it, but then I'll rant when I've got nothing on deck.
Yeah.
I'll be like, all right, these guys don't care. I'm just going to go off on some premises I thought I got in my pocket.
Yeah. So, I could definitely be better at writing process. So take anything you've heard from me that you like and keep it.
I like the tree. I do that one. I like doing that one because it kind of shows you connections.
Yeah.
But I used to just write, just free write.
Yeah. Free write can work too, though, because I can just get the thoughts out of your head. Any form of writing helps, but like I said, take what you like and keep it, and anything that you guys don't like, you're like, this guy's not even talking about. I don't. So just be like, that advice wasn't helpful, so we don't need it.
Well, last thing I wanted to just touch on, I would like to ask everybody is this question about what do you think is the biggest challenge for people in doing whatever it is, comedy or maybe filmmaking or whatever? What is the challenge that that you see then lots of people probably have to deal with?
I think the common thread is ourselves. He talks about it in the War of Art. The greatest war is doing the thing.
Yeah, getting up out of the chair and going and doing
it's so easy to do nothing. It's so easy. It's so nice.
I love doing
especially
nothing.
when you're, especially at our level where we work full-time jobs.
Yeah.
And then to come home, there's so many nights where I don't want to do an open mic and I just want to stay and I want to eat a milkshake from Brown's and lay down and watch TV. It's so easy to do nothing.
Think milkshake from Brahms is why a lot of people don't do stuff.
Yeah.
That might be it.
It's
sorry.
It's a good point.
Yeah.
But no, I really think we are our own greatest barrier.
Yeah, absolutely.
A lot of people will ask a lot of questions about stand up or anything creative, and really what they're doing is they're kind of looking for excuses either not to do it or an easier solution to get to it. Whereas I have a friend who is a photographer, and I remember when they showed me their work at first, I was like, this is like, it is not good.
Yeah.
But they had the kind of the self-confidence and the willingness to put themselves out there and advertise their work and, you know, advertise themselves as a photographer for hire. And now they're getting flown out to places to do photography, and they've really improved.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people stop themselves short because they know, I'm 9 years in and I'm not even on Kevin Hart's level.
Right.
You know, I think a lot of people compare themselves to the height of what they could be of their potential, and there is that potential.
Yeah.
But then they compare it to where they actually are,
like,
and it's a lot of work. That's a big climb to get up there.
It's like almost impossible to imagine some, you know, in some cases for sure. If you like, even for someone like Kevin Hart, it's like, you know, it's probably almost impossible to reach that level.
Yes.
For, you know, so why even bother thinking about?
Well, yeah.
That?
So
I mean, you shouldn't, I think.
Yeah. I think you just gotta remember where you are.
Yeah.
Have self-awareness of where you are, and just push yourself. You gotta get over yourself. I think is
that's
the biggest barrier.
So I think something I've learned about myself in the past year for sure is to how to do that, or start to figure out, you know, not to worry about other people's, not even that, because I think you should worry about other people's perspective of you, and not so much that, oh, they think I'm dumb or silly, but just be aware of their perspective, other perspective in your, I don't know, it's a weird thing, but it's
I think it's okay as long as you're like going, am I okay with how I'm being perceived?
Right.
Yeah.
Where you're not putting on like this idea of like, hey, how are they seeing me? It's like, am I exuding this thing that I want to be perceived as?
Yes.
And not worrying about the outcome, which is them judging you.
Yeah.
It's like you can't control that, so don't worry about it.
I want to make sure I'm putting this across enough.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
It's difficult because we're all, I think that's why I think it's important even for people to, like, I talked about this before, but working for the news, it's like I see the you know, Allie Meyer and these people that are on camera, and it's like Allie Meyer is one of the most confident people that I've probably ever met in my life, because she stares at herself for 8 hours, you know, in a day. But I think it's very powerful to do that. She's very self-aware, and I think that's good. You know, it's like, and it gives you that confidence that you know, because you're watching yourself very closely. I think that there are people out there that hate looking at themselves in the mirror, and that's terrible.
Yeah, you're right. And I think you're right.
I'm one of those.
I mean, I think everybody does.
We all struggle with that for sure. But I love what you just said, though. I think that is such a good point.
Right.
About
I think it's something about it, and it's something that I've learned, because like I used to be terrified of putting myself on camera, and like, you know, even though I'm a musician, I get up on stage, I like an aspect of that. I always have, as far as like getting pictures taken of you playing music was so cool, right?
Yeah,
like,
but when it's just you and yourself.
But yeah, it's like, or you talking into a camera or something is the most terrifying thing of my entire life.
Yeah.
And it's like, now it's like, and that's a part of this too. It's like I'm forcing myself to do that, and literally I listen to myself talk to you guys or to whoever for hours editing, you know. It's like that's changed something in me, and made myself much more confident than I used to be. So it's something to it.
I think it's, I mean, for me, it's like, oh, well, this is what you get.
Yeah.
This is it. I mean, it's not changing. I mean, I might be able to change the size.
Yeah.
But ultimately, it's just like,
control of
I've become better with just being okay with what I got.
Yeah.
You know, and just walking into a room and going like, I'm no better than anybody else. I'm no worse.
Yeah.
Everybody's got their stuff.
Maybe this is too much of a tangent, but I hate when comedians complain about the audience.
Yeah.
And like, even when I've done it before too, and I'll go home and be like, it wasn't the audience, it was you, man. Like, you know that. You know not to blame the audience ever.
Yeah.
Because you can win them. There's always somewhere in there you could win. And if somebody else... Now,
one of my favorite shows, 2 people in the crowd.
Yeah.
I had a show, 2 people were in the crowd, and it was so fun.
Yeah.
It was so fun. So, like, look, even if it's true, you should never blame the audience, because there's always something you can work on yourself.
Yeah.
Somehow you could have made it.
Somebody could have got something out of that.
Yeah.
But maybe it's not you that day.
Maybe.
You know?
Yeah.
That's another thing. I feel like I've gotten more comfortable on stage as far as just like, because of that mentality of just like, all right, I'm going to go up this is what they get. I've prepared as much as I could.
Yeah.
If it fumbles, then it fumbles. And I used to have a lot of fear of fumbling, but now it's just like, all right.
Yeah.
And it's just another thing. It's just another day. It's just like, well, you can do it again the next day or whatever. It's not that as important, I think, as we put on moments in our lives.
And I'm not consistent, but I'm definitely better when I have that kind of mentality. But yeah, the more self-confidence you have in yourself, and like the more love you have for yourself,
Right, that's the big thing.
Definitely the better I am.
That's a good. I love that answer about the. I think that's such a big thing. I think that's probably what I would say is the biggest challenge personally. But I always like to ask I think
it's a fun question. I want to hear what other people have to say too.
So yeah, I like that. So that's it. Well, no, we want to talk about the upcoming events. This weekend. I couldn't find anything. I know there's one big thing going on December 3rd.
December 3rd, we're doing the Lively Comedy Showcase. It's the best of the comedians that have been up on Lively who agreed to come back. So it's the best.
Who were available.
It was the best of the best ones I could find that
were free.
But they're also my favorites. Lively Comedy Showcase is going to be doors at 5, show at 6 p.m. on Sunday, December 3rd. It's going to be $5 tickets. Also, you can get additional raffle tickets by bringing in toys that we're going to donate later. And so our lineup is Adrian Corwin, Brandon Kilo, Will Davis, Ava C., Will Burnson, and John Wallen. I mean, that's
nice.
That's all of the people that do Bricktown, really. So, but like I said, my favorites. And then we're also doing Molly's Tamales as the pop-up kitchen.
Ooh.
So, and she's really well known for her tamales. So everybody come out, spend $5, bring a toy. You can get those tickets on Eventbrite. And, dude, it's going to be a great time. Yeah.
All right. Well,
I think we did it, guys.
That's it. Thanks for watching, everyone. We had a great time talking to Tanner today.
Thank you.
So thanks for coming over.
It's been a lot of fun.
Appreciate you, brother.
Yeah,
appreciate you.
Awesome.
All the small touches. I see what you did there.
Yeah. You know what I'm trying for.
He's getting a little closer.
I'm trying to get some of that comfort.
Yeah, that's right, man.
Comfort core.
Comfort core.
Comfort core, man.
Yeah.
So yeah, everyone.
Look for Tanner Nick's line, Comfort Core, coming down later.
Yeah, dude. It's our new song. Is that the new emo?
Yeah.
Is that going to be our new emo?
Yeah.
It's acoustics with whining. It's just straight crying.
Yeah. it's just listening to the National.
It just sounds like two big guys trying to get in a shirt.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's it for this week's episode. We still have an email address that I tell people every week. I think that they think I'm lying because it's there. It's rhythmandwit@gmail.com. Send us an email. I want to get more, I think as the show grows, hopefully the audience will grow and I want to have interactions with the viewers is my goal with it. So I'm going to shout it out every time until we get an email. So
I think I'm just going to make us one. Yeah, just going to make a couple.
Somebody send us in a fake email. I don't care. Just do it.
Have fun with it. No naked pictures. We're tired of those.
Yeah. Get the spam filters on. Anyways, thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.
Bye.
Bye.
We did it, guys.
All right. All right. Y'all ever watch My 600-Pound Life just for the recipes? Good stuff, man. Good stuff. No, I want to lose weight so I can learn what I hate about myself. I don't have a goal weight. I just want people to stop assuming what my New Year's resolutions are and being right. I'll never get tested for sleep apnea because the idea of dying in my sleep sounds awesome. I grew up Mormon. Growing up Mormon's a lot like growing up American. Your whole life, you're like, America's the best, America's number one, and then you get Twitter, and you're like, Spain is fine. People are happy in the Netherlands. I stopped believing in the church, but I'll always be Mormon, and what I mean by that is, like, the other day I got scared, and I went, golly! That came out of my mouth. So I'll always be Mormon. I'll always be a BYU football fan. I don't know why, because BYU football is proof that God does not care about football.